TV Newswatch 7.
1620, The Zone. Traffic.
From the Pyramid Roofing Time-Saving Traffic Center. Some early closures and delays from accidents. The JFK northbound off-ramp to I-80 West closed right now due to a crash at 32nd near the bottom of the ramp, and a crash I-480 on the loop to I-80 West. This has the right lane closed here, so you will need to stay left and expect delays there. No other slow traffic elsewhere. Just remember to stay safe and wear that seatbelt. I'm Peter Krenzer.
This time-saving traffic is brought to you by Fernando's Omaha.
Fernando's knows just a sandwich at lunch.
Tuna salad? No, not even a little.
So get to one of 2 Metro Fernando's locations and pick up your favorite lunch combos. Get your Fernando's fix, Omaha's favorite Mexican for 30 years.
I'm Bridget Condon with NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network. Chiefs head coach Andy Reid says quarterback Patrick Mahomes and the rest of the first team will play the first quarter in their preseason debut against the Jags Saturday. And Steelers quarterback Justin Fields will also start Friday night against the Texans, while Russell Wilson continues to recover from a calf injury. Ravens head coach John Harbaugh announced that Lamar Jackson will not play Friday against the Eagles. Instead, Josh Johnson will get the start. As for running back Derrick Henry, NFL Network's Cameron Wolfe reports that he will not play during the entire preseason. And the Jets activated wide receiver Mike Williams off the PUP list Wednesday as he works his way back from a torn ACL he suffered last season with the Chargers. And Falcons wide receiver Josh Downs suffered a high ankle sprain in practice Wednesday and is expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks, according to NFL Network insider Ian Rappaport. This has been NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network.
All right, when it comes to getting life insurance for your family, a lot of excuses can get in the way. But ask yourself this: if something were to happen to me, who would pay the mortgage, the kids' education, and the other bills? Then forget the excuses and check out Ethos Life, the online, easy way to get life insurance in 10 minutes. Ethos has rates that you can afford, like a $500,000 policy for a 40-year-old male starting at $1 a day or $30 a month, with a few health questions and no medical exam. Get your free quote right now at checkethos.com. That's checkethos.com. Not available in all states. Rates do vary.
The light is fading, your hands are sore, and the last tool's been put away. Now is the time to feel the satisfaction that comes with a job well done. But when you get your tools from Harbor Freight, something about the job feels a little different. Your wallet. Because we believe that everyone deserves hardworking tools at hardworking prices. And that's what we have here. So, whatever you do it for less at Harbor Freight.
Host is roasting every morning. Host is roasting every day.
Host Coffee stands as the vibrant heart of every break room, offering the unique fusion of traditional quality and modern flair. We're not just your coffee provider, we're the center of memorable workplace moments. Call Host Coffee today.
Proudly serving Nebraska since 1972. Host Coffee is always roasting something good for you.
Funplex asked an AI assistant where you find ultimate summer fun. And,
Funplex, Nebraska's largest water park and rides, now with the brand new spinning, tilting Wipeout. Tasty treats, special events, private cabanas, and more. Probability of unforgettable fun, 100%. Funplex is the best choice for an all-in-one day of summer excitement.
So, see you at Funplex then?
I am a language model.
Yeah, fair enough. Get your human tickets at fun-plex.com. Let's go!
Email unsportsmanlike conduct on the Equitable Bank Zone inbox with whatever is on your mind, from your hot takes to what you think is one. The Zone inbox is brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. We want to hear from you on the Equitable Bank Zone inbox.
Hey everyone, Jimmy Allen.
And John Schreiner.
If 6A to 6P isn't wild and crazy enough for you,
then we have the approach that no one else is bringing to the table, like who would win in a fight between a taco and a grilled cheese sandwich.
From hot take
to wild conspiracy theories,
we have you covered.
But we're also covering the usual suspects, like the Huskers, the Jays, the Bruins.
From the NFL and everything else, we're giving you the most unique coverage of high school sports.
Join us from 6 to 8 p.m. as the sports schedule allows.
Brought to you by Bellevue University
and Pyramid Roof Contractors on 1620 The Zone.
1620 The Zone.
Here's the pitch. And this one's driven to right center and hit a ton. Will it get over the wall? It does. A line drive homer to right center field. Just to the right of the 410 side. An impressive bolt by Yordan Alvarez.
2-2.
And Caratini hits this one pretty well down the right field line. Garcia looking up. See you later. Victor Caratini with his 6th home run of the year, and the Astros lead is 3-0.
Does Cutter throw a cutter? He did there, and a slicer down the left field line, hooking, and gone. Bobby Witt.
Here's the pitch. Breaking ball smacked down the right field line toward the corner. Out of Refsnyder's reach. In one hops the fence. Garcia's in to score. Massey races around third. He comes in standing. 2-run double. Bobby Witt Jr. The Royals take the lead in the bottom of the 4th. The 0-1. Fastball lifted high in the air, deep to right field. Refsnyder to the track. It's gone. Stay hot, Vinny Pasquantino. He drills a 2-run homer. His 17th home run of the season. And it's now 7-4 Royals. Fastball lifted deep to center field. Rafaela sprints back. Still going. It's out of here. Bobby Witt Jr. demolishes his 2nd home run of the game.
Live from 50th and Capitol Avenue in the Big O. This is Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com, and 1620 The Zone TV. Now here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy.
Get your ass out of here.
Whoa. No, do not do that. Stay here for the next 4 hours, and then you can take your ass whatever you want to take it. What are you doing over there? I'm hearing like a different station now in my ears.
I can't hear anything.
Hey, CBS Sports Network.
Hey,
how you doing?
Okay.
You're
All
like
right, okay,
Kevin
all
Harlan
right.
calling both games?
Yes.
I had to go from the bottom phone jack now to, oh no.
This is a...
So if you say
this
racket
isn't
in a
good.
couple hours, we know it hasn't been fixed.
Bottom phone jack, headphone jack has been probably my mainstay for the last 3 months now.
Yeah.
I had to go upstairs. Now I'm upstairs.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
After hours.
For people who don't know what's going on, yeah.
Add a little context there. The amp box in the studio here where we plug our headphones in. This is a little inside baseball to start the show. Didn't think we were going to go here. Thought we were going to go some Pasquatch, but this is where we're at. It's all about the friends we've met along the way. The amp in the studio is so bad. I heard the after hour guys last night. That's like one of the first things they said. So I get knocked all the time because mine is cranked up.
Yeah.
But this microphone that where you sit here is really bad. So
you sound fine.
I know I sound fine, but what I'm hearing is not the same. So that's why I have it cranked up. People think I can't hear. That's probably true. There's a lot of people in my life that tell me things and they go, "You can't hear, can you?" And I'm like, "Nope."
I get accused of that.
I feel bad.
Haley?
I do that with Reese a lot. He tends to say weird stuff, and then I'm always saying, "What? And then some of it is because I have no idea what he's actually saying, and other times I just can't hear him clearly.
So he's destined for
There
radio.
was one time that he got really mad at me for that. Like, why won't you listen to me? Well, Dad's got bad ears right now.
See, I can multitask. You know, everybody in their life will be like, there's talking, and you're like on your phone or you're texting or something like that, but you're listening. And then they'll go, "You're not listening, are you?" That is such the flex when you go, "Yeah, this is what you just said."
Yeah.
And then they're like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
Stop them in the tracks. It is a talent too.
Now you got me picturing Reese having a meltdown, just slamming things down and
yeah, guys, it's
going all Lee Elia in the living room.
We got what we like to call an iPad problem.
Oh, are we
iPad.
limiting time or
Yes,
looking at porn?
Well, not that yet.
Studying Bear's diagram.
It's a little bit tougher in Nebraska to access porn
Exactly.
these days.
That is true.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you to our politicians. No, it's anything more than 20 minutes. He turns into a really, really cranky individual. And yesterday he had a meltdown because we confronted him on how cranky he gets after he's looking at his iPad.
Did
for
you have
over
an
15.
intervention in the kitchen with
We
the
did.
kid?
We did. And you know what? It went when you don't know what you're doing in an intervention.
I learned by watching you.
And they're in the denial. And so what do you do when you're in denial? You just lash out and you go run to your safe place.
Yeah. We've all been there.
Yeah. He stomps, he yells, and he goes to his little place. And then now Jenny and I just laugh when he does it. And then 5 minutes later, he comes over curiously asking if he can have a snack. And then all is forgotten.
I remember those days.
Yeah. I did that. I did that 2 years ago. Yeah, I did that 2 years ago.
It was last night.
All right. Welcome in, everybody. We're off and rolling on a Thursday, which is really, It is, what are we, August 8th?
Mm-hmm.
Why is school starting?
That's what I want to know.
So I noticed my first school bus of the fall on my drive in this morning, and I'm like, oh, that is miserable. Because I don't think in my neighborhood, like OPS is not back today. But remember, I'm a District 66 guy.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So West Side is back today.
Eventual state champions.
Whoa.
Whoa. I'm just stirring. I have nothing.
You're going to have
some people in Southern Millard that like to talk to you.
Hey, Ty Wisdom going to be on the phone talking to you in just a moment from Millard South.
Don't take it too seriously.
But Millard, Bellevue, and I think West Side start today. But explain to me, Mr. Mike Lucas, super over at District 66, why are we starting on the 8th of August? Whatever happened to our schools don't have air conditioning, so we can't start until Labor Day? And if you are in, the state of Iowa, where I went to school, we didn't start till like after the state fair, because most of the rural schools in Iowa, they had kids that were participating in the state fair. Yeah. So they can't be in school. So they would go and, they would show their livestock and do
4-H.
their 4-H. They would perform and all that kind of stuff. So school always started like after the state fair. It was once the state fair in Iowa started, you're like, oh no. If you weren't playing like football, if you're playing football, you're already in 2-a-days. So you knew that
you're in
school
mode.
was on the horizon. But if you were not involved in activities, like the state fair hits and you're like, oh no.
That's kind of cool.
And then when
though.
it ends on a Sunday, you're like, oh, I got to go to school now. But why are we starting school so early? It's August 8th, folks.
Feel bad for the teachers. They had to go back right after 4th of July.
Just go to school 4 days a week.
Don't they adjourn a lot earlier, though, now?
No.
No.
It's always usually before Memorial Day weekend.
Well, yeah, but I thought that was always the case.
See,
well, we don't. We also, in my day, when they, when we some days we had power at the
the schoolhouse.
Mm-hmm.
And that walk up Aurora Avenue was difficult because it was steep and there was all the snow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like it was snowing.
You're
in
not wearing
August.
shoes.
No.
What are you, North Dakota?
Having to light your lantern when you get to class.
We did not have a 6-week Christmas break. We'd be out for like 3
ridiculous.
weeks.
Yeah,
kids are out forever.
That's common.
I will say this as someone that knows, I would have loved to have been at Nebraska when they have the kind of break that they have now.
Oh, it's all about the J term. Man.
Yeah, I did have
you get that J term, and all of a sudden there's an actual, like a hidden, like snuck in semester there.
It's the middle of January, and I'm looking at Chuck, and I'm going, shouldn't you be at UNL? Oh, we got another week and a half. I'm like, Jesus, the kids of America, we're in trouble.
Yeah, it was usually what right around the 15th or so that you would be
like the
done
22nd.
With fall. Oh, that's
to go back.
Well, and then we would go back. It was always right around my birthday, which is on the 12th. It was always whatever that week was that was adjacent to that. Now, I was thinking about this. This was a couple of years back because I also, like you, thought, man, I feel like they go back to school a week earlier almost every time I think about this, because we have a lot of friends that are teachers. And
yeah, they have to go back right away.
Boy, does their mood change when you start getting 2 days away from them reporting. Like they're just summer, they're carefree, living their best life.
You don't have the friends that are excited because even if the power was out at the elementary school this past week, they snuck in to set up their room and they're so excited.
They are.
Wait a minute. The teachers that are on TikTok, that's not true. The excitement that they have.
Not the ones that I've been around. And I have I would say a decent sample size. It's not like, oh, well, you just know 2 teachers. I know quite a few. And man, when we hang out with them, say in June and July, oh, life is amazing. I mean, they're carefree. They're doing, especially ones that don't have kids either, like in their actual family. They're doing trips. They're living their best life. And then all of a sudden, as soon as August, like right around August 2nd, August 3rd hit,
they become me.
Yeah, they're very matter of fact in our interactions. We were like, hey, you guys want to go out and do this? Well, I mean, I don't care, I guess. It's like the world's going to end next week anyway because I have to start putting stuff in my classroom.
Good morning. What's good about it?
I remember, I think we always started in Millard. I think we always started around the 15th. So, I mean, that's still early or later than what is going on now. But it was only about a week or so later than what they're doing now. I always thought, man, this is like 2 weeks. We were starting, like in the 20th. No, it was usually right around the 15th. I had to go back. I had some memories that were time-stamped that would tell me that's when we were going, especially my senior year. But you're right about football. So if you're like playing football, you know that it doesn't matter when school starts. You're at the school so long, especially during 2 days. 1 year we had 3 days. So by the time school starts, you're already over it.
Well, and usually, if I remember when I was in school playing football, you would have your 2 weeks of two-a-days, and then the last week of, I guess, fall camp would be the first week of school. So you'd be able to practice two-a-days because you didn't have to worry about school.
Right.
So high school football conditioning just started this week. So now you got all these like 6 a.m. practices and stuff
They
like
got
that.
nice weather this week.
So enjoy your first day picks. I always like that because I have a lot of friends that share, with their kids, their first, they hold up the little chalkboard.
Yeah.
And they do it throughout their entire
When I grow
career.
up, I want to be
Gary, I'm going to be a senior. Yay.
I wish, after maybe first grade,
Stop.
the opening day of school in my house was not a big deal because my mom worked, as the head nurse at Mercy. She was working 7 to 3, so she'd be gone on that opening day of school.
You had to get yourself ready.
Yeah, when I was in elementary school,
Take a selfie with a Polaroid.
My brother, I didn't have, my brother was of course not helping. He was an infant.
I thought you were going to say something about him not being your real brother and going that route.
Well,
again.
kind of, he's not.
I know, but
okay,
you seem to like to bring that up, especially that poor kid when he's growing up. You're supposed to embrace him.
But again, at this point, he's a sack of potatoes.
Hey, there's a moment when, and I'm pro adoption. I love my brother, but there is a point where you're fighting with your brother and you go, "You're adopted."
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Pull out that card
when they've never heard that they've been adopted before.
How about when you really weren't adopted?
I broke the news to him, and it forced my parents to go buy a book. They're like, "You are still ours."
Have a conversation. How about not being adopted, but being the only redhead amongst 4 boys and being told you were adopted when you're young? You don't know any better. That was my upbringing. There.
I would have gotten the portal.
Yeah.
Well, then mom and dad tried to keep me from going to the portal. This is all my 3 older brothers.
But they were
one brother in particular.
Trades quietly.
Between that and then when I was a baby, he put pepper in my eyes.
Damn.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just started shaking pepper in my eyes. Thought it was funny because I was having a reaction to it. Apparently, like you would think. But do you guys remember when the first day of school?
So much for that prank.
Maybe in middle school. I don't know if I felt this way in high school. But in middle school, that first day was kind of exciting because you got your new look. You had some new clothes.
Oh,
your
new shoes.
And then, you were measuring up your shoe game to everyone else's shoe game. Then there was you thought you had a solid shoe game, then you saw everyone else's, and then it just looked. You're like, God, this is such a downer. Yeah, and you go back to mom and dad, like, you know what? Can we take? What do we get? We did these 2 weeks ago. Do we still have a chance to take these back?
Is it still tax-free?
Upgrade. I think once I got into high school, I really didn't care. It probably because of football. But yeah, that first day of school, you couldn't wait.
Yeah.
See who's in your classes.
See, I would love to have that picture. I mean, I'm sure it's somewhere out there. But the picture of me holding a chalkboard in front of 7013 Maryland Drive.
Yeah, we never had the chalkboard. I thought that was something that was relatively new in the last maybe 10 years.
But that warms my cockles. So good for all the parents out there, and especially an acquaintance who has he's got a kindergartner who he's like, I don't know if we'll make it through the day. That's cool to everybody that has youngsters that this is their first day at school or their last day, like they're beginning their senior year. Oh,
the journey begins.
I think I was late for my first day of school as a senior because I didn't care.
Same.
What were you doing? Why were you late?
I was sleeping in.
Oh, okay.
Remember, I was on my own. I was like, my mom said, it's your responsibility to get yourself to school.
Yeah, that's wise.
Cool.
Yeah. So I'm like, you know what? Hey, maybe if the car starts today and maybe if it doesn't, I'll make it into school. So I think I was late for my first class, which was a Spanish class full of freshmen, and I was the only senior.
This is the reminder also to high school kids.
One way to meet girls.
If you can still manipulate your schedule and you got block scheduling, because this was a gem in my second semester of senior year. First block off, last block off. So you had the late arrival and the early departure. The only problem with that is you might go home, you might take a nap, and you still have practices.
Oh,
there were times that I had to have my mom call the coach and say I was sick because I overslept for afternoon practice.
But you had a hell of a nap.
Oh, God, yeah. It was amazing to go home, watch a little Saved by the Bell.
Yeah.
And then sometimes, you never knew what was going on with Zach and Kelly, so I couldn't take myself away from the TV.
I loved the schedule for athletes because it didn't matter if you were in your sport or not. If you were an athlete, you did not have like the last 2 periods. You were out.
Yep.
I was like, I'll play any sport.
Oh, there was one
That's the
year.
case.
This would have been my first year at Millard West, or junior year. This would have been second semester. I would say the majority of our football team was all in weight training class together. So then we didn't have to worry about morning weight training or after school weight training. And don't tell me they didn't do that on purpose. I think we had maybe four girls in our class. Everybody else we're like, hey, you got it too? All right. Then all we did. And oh, by the way, guess who our teacher was? Yeah, we had our defensive coordinator, who was also the gym teacher, who was also knowing our weight program.
What kind of defense did he run?
We were a basic 4-3.
Okay.
But I think the girls were probably wondering why they were doing a lot of hammer strength stuff. And there was a lot of dude sweat going on there too. So, I mean, again, there's strategies to this entire process. So I think as we celebrate all of the chalkboard images too, we can celebrate people manipulating the system so they can get their athletes into certain classes.
When does OPS go back?
Next week.
Okay.
15th, I think. And the main concept here is it sucks to get old. That's what I take from all this. I want to be fine.
Yeah, those were the days. Those were the days.
I would not go back to elementary school, junior high.
I don't know about junior high, but high school.
Maybe my senior year of high school.
Yeah.
The rest of high school, kind of a blur to me. Like senior year, I did nothing.
Same.
The only thing I
socialized.
I played sports, but
you weren't on Stuco.
And then I ran a college basketball gambling thing.
Nice.
I was okay. I was curious if that's where you're going. So you ran a little bit of a gambling ring,
doing the Lord's work.
So you were that guy. Every school had
classmates had a lot of money. I wasn't going to miss out on that opportunity.
Every school had that guy. You always wondered where he was from, maybe what he was doing.
That or the Mike Damone.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of Did you also have secondary market tickets for concerts?
I did not.
No, okay.
I did not. I just we would gamble and do pools and stuff like that. I didn't know it was illegal.
Man, March was a big time for you in your senior year.
Huge.
What do you mean he went into sports radio? How do you know that?
Yes. All right, welcome in everybody off on a Thursday.
Shout out FanDuel.
I was FanDuel before FanDuel existed.
There was a promo code before promo codes existed.
You're like the 900 numbers.
Did you have your own like little promo code? You'd shave a little bit off here.
Call now and you'll get 2 guarantees for Sunday.
No, I kept the
promo code Jayhawk.
I kept like a wad of cash in my locker.
Man,
if I look back,
you were full on corrupt.
Damn.
If I look back on it now, I was very sloppy because it was like openly talked about.
Yeah. Well, see, this is why if you went back now, knowing
Teachers
what you know now,
spreads.
Think about how lucrative that could be.
Well, I had a business class as a senior, and so I explained this concept in the class.
Teacher, was your project?
Hey, teacher was mortified.
I bet.
She's like, "Is this real?" And I'm like, "Yep."
But you knew the debit and credit system, didn't you?
Let me get 100 on the Hawkeyes tonight. They're good for it.
I knew what. So when they would do assets and assets and checks and balances.
Yeah, that was the class that I learned how to do balance a checkbook and then debits and credits.
Debits and credits.
Yeah, debits and credits. Yeah.
Yeah. So I explained what I was doing.
Yeah.
And the teacher was like, she looked around the class. Is he serious?
Oh, yeah, he's really good.
And so there was a friend of mine, I remember this plain as day, Chad Larson, sitting in the back, and he goes, "Yep."
Chad's got a big debit while I have a big credit. Because Chad is not very good at picking games, so he's got a big debit.
But I learned more
I've got a big credit.
I learned more about business doing that than I actually did in that class.
Oh, I can understand that.
Yeah,
I work.
I don't want to be book smart. Okay, I want to be street smart.
Well, no, that's understandable. But what was your collection method? Because I'm assuming when you're 16, 17, 18 years old, you're probably not always on time of paying the fiddler.
Did you have Joe Pesci as a...
No.
Yeah. Did you have like
Nicky Santoro?
I mean, our collection could have been better. I wasn't really
you can walk around at least with like a wiffle ball bat?
No.
Have Rocky go bring a guy's...
I don't know if you can bring an actual bat to school, but at least something to show some intimidation.
Back then you could, though. Simpler times.
Well, yeah. I mean, especially with your tie to sports, they would just thought, oh, well, Gary's playing baseball.
Look at Can't Buy Me Love. They take their bats to lunch.
That's true. Yeah.
So for all the kids out there that are going back to school, you can get high school lines in this city for high school football, which starts at the end of the month. Actually,
what are our futures odds right now?
So 1, 2, 3 weeks from tonight is the first high school football game.
Yeah, because it'd be 3 weeks from Oh my gosh, we are less than 3 weeks. Well, no, 3 weeks from today as well for the first full go of college football. That Thursday.
Yes.
When Nebraska would have been playing Minnesota a year ago.
Ooh, I'll be happy that
Darts
day.
University plays 3 weeks from tonight against North Dakota State.
Darts
University.
That's right. That's a Thursday game.
Yes. College football is the greatest sport on earth.
I did think of you yesterday, seeing all that trolling.
So, college football unified yesterday, 3 weeks from the start of the season, due to a video edit. A bad video edit from an official account attached to the Colorado football program. How great is this sport that by the end of the day, the likes of Idaho, Montana, Arkansas, others, the Big Ten Network had trolled Colorado for their very poor social media edit of a practice highlight.
221,000 views, by the way.
How great is this sport? I love this sport with a passion because a bad video edit in other sports just gets pushed aside. This will not go away, and I'm here for it, and I don't think people are done. Let's just, for a moment here, because I got some thoughts on the Colorado pushback I've gotten.
Okay, if you're just joining us today, you also need to realize our good friend Gary over here thought it'd be really fun to put out a loosely interpreted quote tweet of said video of smooth edit. Now, for people who know Gary, know that there's some sarcasm behind that. For people who don't know Gary, thought maybe Gary was a fan of how that was spliced.
Yeah.
People really thought that?
One guy, he was a Nebraska fan, got at me and he goes, "You guys know you're not going to score in Lincoln."
Yeah.
And I was like, and then I was like, oh, the guy thinks I'm a Colorado fan, so he doesn't get it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks for
But
listening.
Here's how bad it was. Okay, this has nothing to do with the actual football players. This is all on a social media team at a school that loves their social media with a horrible edit.
Yeah.
That darts. And everybody then was darts yesterday.
Yeah.
You have to understand, if you're Colorado and you're that social media person who is now in the portal, I mean, they better have their Louis Vuitton and headed out of Boulder. Is the Big Ten Network included a Nebraska highlight? The Big Ten Network media on their social media, they don't do jack squat. But yesterday, they put out their own troll of CU's edit on their own account.
Yep.
The Big Ten Network. How bad is a video edit if the Big Ten Network,
who doesn't show baseball,
is putting something out? I love this sport. I love the sport. And we are now less than a month from when that team that had a bad video edit of their star quarterback throwing a touchdown pass enters Memorial Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
This is what makes this sport so great. This is what makes this country so great. Sorry, Quincy Hall. Yesterday's bad video edit on Colorado's social media. I don't know what's going to happen today.
I'm sorry, Gary.
Wait.
I did not give the initial video credit. Now, this is actually a big number. I mentioned 221,000 views. That was the correction video of, well, I heard a lot of pushback that people said the ball went out of bounds. So here's a better view of it. That one got 221,000. The video that we were having some fun with yesterday that I honestly I didn't realize this. I'll get to it here in a second. The initial one got 12 million views. 12. I mean, that's where it's at right now. 12 million views.
Like
and
big city.
I don't believe this is it? Okay, no, this is not Mike Farron. This is Mike Farrell's first comment is edits only with a question mark.
Just
Mike Farrell Sports.
Just because you can edit, it doesn't mean you should edit.
Yeah.
That's
there you go, kids.
Again, it's your official Twitter account, and you blew it. But here's
you weren't the only one that mentioned the edit. All of the first 8
terrible.
to 20 comments are all harsh edit. I had a seizure with that edit.
It has nothing to do with the activity. It has to do with a really, really bad edit that they allowed to be shared out there. and college football ate it up.
That throw wasn't caught.
But here's the other thing about the poor edit and everybody around college football doing their own and piling on.
Yeah.
Because I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Because that's what college football is.
We still got a few weeks.
Yeah. When you have a scrum, people pile on.
I'm happy.
When you have a bad edit and it's from Colorado, people pile on. Nobody respects you, Colorado. They are making fun of you. Don't come at me and say, well, now we're relevant. We're in your head. No. You know what? Serious football programs don't have other schools taking a crack at it, and serious football programs don't allow that to be put on their official account.
Right.
No one respects you, okay? People in college football have your roster up on a board somewhere, and they're like, next year, who are we going to go pick when they turn on the lights and everybody scatters? Again, this has nothing to do with your players and the activity. It is a poor edit that led to a landslide of just crushing Colorado.
So I saw that a lot of the...
I think Athlon's going to be there today to write another expose on a poor edit and what happened to that kid.
We have an update on the original story that we posted. Now, there was a lot of feeling that this was bitter Nebraska fans, too. This is all across the map. In fact, one of the better comments that I saw, this was Brash Talk on College Football. Now, Brash Talk on College Football is a big Alabama fan. Huge Alabama fan.
Roll Tide.
Brash Talk on College Football said, the comment sections of a Colorado Post are just absolutely brutal. I don't think any program in history has ever been so laughed at or disrespected. And the crazy thing is they're still beating their chests like they've accomplished something. That's from an Alabama. So this isn't just, regional too. This is making its way out to the SEC. You mentioned the Big Ten on this one too.
Oh, the list looks like you're at CVS with a receipt.
Yeah. Well, okay. This was I didn't realize a buddy of mine had tweeted at me. This would have been last night. So when you mentioned the video, I hadn't seen it yet. And so in the middle of watching the video, you were talking about putting $1,000 on Colorado to win the college football playoff.
Yeah.
And you were saying Nebraska has a better chance of winning the college football playoff. And then you said Iowa. Well, in the middle when you said Iowa is when I saw the edit. So I started laughing very, very hard and said, that's awful. And so I did get I got at least one individual who's actually a friend of mine, but is also an Iowa fan. He was not happy about that. He thought I was responding to your assertion that Iowa has a better chance at winning the college football playoff. I was literally laughing because as you said that, I saw the edit and I said, wow, that's bad. So I understand where some people were like, whoa, you think it's not as laughable if Nebraska as opposed to Iowa, which, as we know, some people have Iowa as a dark horse.
Yeah.
At least in the playoff.
Iowa has a better chance to win the college football playoff than Colorado. Now, At the end of the day, as we had fun with this, and I can't wait what's going to happen today around college football. Great sport is, that September 7th when the old clock at, U.S. Bank on the drive-thru says 9:45. Mm-hmm. If Nebraska has not won that game, going to be rough.
Going to be randomly rough. Go with the clock at U.S. Bank.
Like I say, got struck by lightning.
Well, because
the time and temperature.
I think we have. Yeah, that's
when the temperature's never right.
Kids don't know how to read these days. I mean,
this is true.
Because and we learned how to read by time and temp on clocks.
That is true.
I don't know how to read a clock.
Why couldn't you say if the scoreboard at the billboard, what is it, the Blue Cross Blue Shield, doesn't read?
They don't have that anymore.
Well, they would bring it back if we started winning games.
They don't even have the gas station. Malakar's not even downtown to put on a score.
Lincoln.
Yeah,
so, but the bottom line is, as this game gets closer and starts to ramp up, and both teams play a game, and Colorado plays 3 weeks from tonight, and then you get ready for week 2, and then week 2 comes Sunday morning. Nebraska must wake up 2-0. There is no debate. There is no, football's a crazy. Get out of here. Nebraska must win that football game, or we all going to be miserable.
Yep.
Okay? Because we will have it given right back to us, and we deserve it.
Yes, we do.
But I'm telling you, You people out there where we come to vacation and come and grab your weed and bring it back into Nebraska?
And go to snooze.
If Nebraska beats Colorado in Lincoln, regardless if Colorado has beaten Nebraska on a stretch here, y'all in trouble. The people out in western Nebraska, which starts, like at Gretna, are going to be ruthless on y'all.
You say western Nebraska starts at Gretna?
Yeah,
that's a 1620 thing. I like to think that western Nebraska starts a little bit further out.
Yeah.
Maybe Wood River.
Mm-hmm.
I know this joke. Kansas, it's western Kansas starts at
Wood River is
Topeka.
still central Nebraska.
Wood River,
I will go like North Platte.
Wood
But
River.
some like to say that
Kearney, Grand Island.
Western Nebraska is getting closer to Omaha that you could say that
180th.
West Roads is in western Nebraska.
Oh, I have friends that live more kind of by Omaha, Marion, in the North Omaha area. And anytime they have to come out our way, they always say, well, are we going to Lincoln? Like, come on. You're not.
Yeah. There'll be people that will drop to their knees over the next 4 weeks, and they will be praying to Devaney.
Yeah, I'd rather wake up with hemorrhoids.
Nebraska cannot lose to Colorado.
It'll be insufferable.
I would take a 1-11 season if the one win was Colorado.
Take the UTEP win. We don't need that week.
Hey, I'm not asking for a lot. I don't think I have the cachet to ask for a lot from the man upstairs. But the Bob father, you can just give us one win. Okay, one win, and that must be on September 7th.
So Dylan's got UTEP, Bob's got CU. Got it.
Ooh, I don't know. 1-11 though. That's a deal with the devil right there.
Well, I mean, you got an issue with left tackle. I mean, anything can happen.
No, you're not wrong. I'm just 1-11.
I mean, Nebraska might lose a lot of 10-6 games. And it wasn't because
we're back in the Big Ten.
It wasn't because there were 2 field goals. It was a missed extra point.
It was missed extra point, swinging left gate.
All right, coming up in less than an hour. Bob was great again last night down at the K. As the 24-year-old shortstop for the Kansas City Royals hit 2 home runs, drove in 4, and the Royals salvaged the game against the Red Sox to stay ahead of the Red Sox in the wild card race. Tim Kirkchin from ESPN will join us coming up at 7:30 to talk baseball. Wild ending or a wild scenario last night in the Philly Dodger game that included 3 Kyle Schwarber home runs.
And and a really bad strike zone. And also a bad interpretation of a rule.
Angel Hernandez night at Dodger Stadium.
I did not like the interpretation of that rule.
I liked what Alec Boehm did. We'll get into that.
Okay, but I like managers can complain about this and that. This is where I was on Team Dave Roberts last night.
It's an interpretation.
Yes.
Yes. But it also pays to know the rules. Alec Boehm, and he knew the rules, and he slid into Rojas, who was protecting third base without the ball.
Who forced
so
the
once he
call.
slid it.
Yep.
Kids know the rules.
Yes.
You know what? Look what it did for Belichick. He knew rules and how to exploit them, and he was right.
Mm-hmm.
Alec Boehm was right last night, in my opinion.
So Alec Boehm is Bill Belichick.
That's what I heard.
Wouldn't go that far.
Okay, well.
Your Iowa friends are going to get at you again for doing that. Steve Sipple joins us at 8:30. And then Brian Edwards. Again, we have 2 preseason football games tonight.
I thought we had more.
I thought we only had 2. I was actually looking at the slate.
Okay.
Because I thought I might dabble a little bit.
Maybe
tonight,
I'm getting my...
You have 2 games. You have
it's
Carolina,
okay, I'm sorry.
You have Carolina and New England.
I got my Friday ones
Super Bowl
combined
38.
with third. Okay, yeah. Because
Lions and Giants also.
I was really excited to watch the Steelers to see.
That's tomorrow.
The quarterback battle that is tomorrow. Now, you're right.
3 games tomorrow: Atlanta, Miami, Houston, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, Baltimore.
So the Giants, Lions, will they just have a fight?
Probably.
That's all they've been doing.
They've been fined already.
It's all they've been doing. Just fighting the entire time.
So we have that to talk about with Brian Edwards, and he joins us at 9:45. That is the lineup brought to you by the Roof Freeze at John Higgins Weather Guard. Also, shout out, the Olympics are going on. Huge day at the Olympics today, from U.S. men's basketball to we got volleyball, U.S. women's volleyball. Noah Lyles races again. And shout out, we're pro Big Ten here. Spencer Lee is a dude from Iowa. If you saw him wrestle this morning, he is a dude who has advanced after beating a guy from China in the first round. 57 kilometers.
I have a new favorite event that had nothing to do with any of those things yesterday, by the way, that I didn't even know existed until last night.
The what?
It's not handball.
There's a new event that I was mesmerized by that I didn't even know existed. It had nothing to do with any of those because I was looking forward to a lot of track and field last night.
Was
and
it
then all
that
of a sudden,
bike thing on the ramp that
No.
looked like roller derby?
No, it's artistic dance in the swimming pool. It's not even synchronized swimming. It's artistic
I
dance
saw
in the
that.
swimming pool. Was one of the most. Well, I don't want to ever disparage anybody that might be in that, but probably one of the most ridiculous things.
Well, Omaha's a big.
This just goes to show you
rhythmic,
anything can be an Olympic
Whatever.
sport.
Well, today is, I think, the start of breakdancing today. So prepare yourself accordingly.
Yes.
42 past the hour. Tim Kirkchin from ESPN. Talk a little ball, y'all. And Bob, who's hitting 349 this morning for the Kansas City Royals and isn't going anywhere for the next 11 years. He'll join us coming up at 7:30. It's Mornings with Sharp and Handley and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
All right, another day of the Olympics going on over in Paris. The U.S. men's basketball team plays in the semis today against Serbia and beat against the Joker. The line is only 17.5. Hmm?
And was
Gotta
it
have this going in your high
first
school.
time in the previous match that
Previous
was it
what?
27? Sorry, previous game.
Previous scrum.
I'm all over the place right now.
Previous
Olympics.
get-together?
Olympics
Hootenanny.
stuff. The previous game involving the U.S. men's basketball team. Was it 20? What was it? 22 and a half, 27 and a half? And they hit.
The last two times they played
Actually
them, they beat them by an average of 26. The line is 17.5 for the 2 o'clock tip today between the U.S. and Serbia.
The U.S. and Joker.
Right. And Pony.
Oh, whoa.
Serbia.
Whoa. There are other guys that play for Serbia. Remember, they were down 24 to Australia and came back and won.
Australia
It was
still lost.
not all the Joker. He was about 96.3%. So give some
My
love.
bad.
Give some love to the 3%ers out there. That Bennington lifestyle is getting to you. All right, would you guys like to know?
Touche!
Would you guys like to know an oddity?
I love oddities.
Okay, so I'm doing a little college football research for a project that I'm involved in. That will be revealed as we get closer to the start of the season. I once again, in a conversation with a friend yesterday, we both wondered about one of the greatest mysteries of this upcoming season when it comes to schedules.
Okay.
You know, because if you start to look at some things like national people are putting stories out and they're going with, here is our dark horse to make the playoffs.
Right.
Rutgers, Iowa, and Nebraska show up in a few of these.
Mm-hmm.
Rutgers is starting to show up more. Herb Street gave them a lot of love. Iowa shows up.
Yep.
A lot of it has to do with their schedule.
Mm-hmm.
I still, to this day, and we talked about it probably about a month ago, I am having a really, really hard time with the concept that the University of Missouri, a top 10 program, is playing in Amherst, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
They are
Go
playing
Minutemen.
at UMass.
Yeah.
Now,
Go Marcus Camby.
I explain why that's on the schedule. But here's the other part that is still just befuddling to me. It is week 7 of the season. This isn't like in the non-con. This is week 7 that Missouri, out of the SEC, potential playoff team, is going to play in Amherst, Massachusetts against UMass. Week 7.
Good.
Not like week 2 or week 3.
Right.
It is week 7. I mean, it is scrunched between a trip to Texas A&M and a home game against Auburn. That has to be one of the quirkiest schedules, a schedule on a week, because that week is not bad. That's one of the better weeks. It's great because that's an off week for Nebraska.
Yep.
The October 12th weekend is a really, really good college football weekend.
Red River.
And Mizzou says we're going to double down and go to Amherst, Mass. and play. I still can't get over that they're playing there, and now that they're playing on week 7 is even more of a
Would it be better, though, in the SEC? Because remember, you see a lot of those when they play the
Cupcake weekend?
Yes, when it's usually the
those are home
second to
games,
last.
though.
But there are home games.
This is a bona fide. We are going to Amherst, Massachusetts.
Well, if I'm hearing you correctly, you're saying that this is a trap game.
Didn't you say Don Brown's a coach?
They're going to be at College Station, as you pointed out, College Station on October 5th. Then they travel, obviously, to College Station, then to Amherst before they come back home to take on Auburn. So clearly, what you're getting at is what I'm hearing is UMass is a trap game.
Look for a UMass
at
football
Amherst.
hoodie.
Well, if by chance Mizzou loses that game.
Well, yeah.
There we go. UMass football on Fanatics.
Just saying, it's an interesting placement of it from the standpoint of they won't lose the game, but
not with that attitude.
I feel like we could really sell this as a major trap game. If it was at home, we wouldn't say that. I mean, that East Coast travel.
Week 7. We ain't talking about week 3.
No.
We ain't talking about week 2. We're talking about week 7 that Missouri plays at UMass. Now, the other oddity, I do not take credit for this. I was told to go look this up. as the season unfolds, and we are 3 weeks from the start of college football season tonight, when you could see your beloved, Jimmy, Missouri Tigers take on Murray State.
F them, I'll be at another game.
As the season unfolds and we wind our way through 12 grueling games, and we make it to November 29th, when Nebraska and Iowa meet with a chance to go to the college football playoff or the Big Ten championship game on the line.
At night.
Oh.
I'm just trying to hype the game.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to be true.
No.
Do you realize, or no, let me preface this way. Who will be the starting quarterbacks in that game?
Oh.
I'm asking you all on August 8th for a game that will not be played until November 29th. I want you to look into your crystal ball. I want you to go to Warhorse Casino over on or on 63rd and what was that, Q?
Yeah.
Which is now open.
Beautiful.
Anybody under the age of 60, I don't know that's gone in there yet. Every video I see is like, oh my God, the bus pulled up, that gambling bus, and all the old people got off. But good on them. They're spending all of our inheritance. So you could get a future on this. Who will be the starting quarterback for Iowa? Who will be the starting quarterback for Nebraska in Week 12 in Iowa City on Friday night, November 29th?
I'm going to go with history and say you're not going to have both QB1s going. So I will say, just because this is what I want, I will say Dylan Raiola is the starting quarterback, and I'm going to say Brendan Sullivan is the starting quarterback for Iowa.
Both starters will be starting.
Okay.
Now, I don't even know, is Marco Lanez, I don't even know if I'm saying his name right, is he in strong contention for the number 2 spot?
No.
Okay, then Brendan Sullivan.
Now,
what if they both?
Jimmy, what you said about Cade McNamara and Dylan Raiola starting would be an oddity.
Yeah. I'm going history off McNamara's injuries, by the way.
Well, why don't you do history of
that game too?
This series?
Yes, that's also very true. Let's see. Logan Smothers,
Casey Thompson, Chubba Purdy. So of the last 3 years,
Deacon Hill.
Nebraska's only had one of their starting quarterbacks have started in that game. Ironically, it was the game that Nebraska won.
Mm-hmm.
The only time that Iowa in the last 3 years had their normal starting quarterback start the Nebraska game was their comeback against Nebraska when Logan Smothers started, Spencer Petras.
Yep.
And then the next year, Petras was injured. Alex Padilla was the starting quarterback in the game that Nebraska won in Iowa City. And then, of course, last year, Deacon Hill. How about that stat?
Yeah.
So
I'm telling
last
you.
3 years, 2 of the last 3 years, both Iowa and Nebraska have had to start their backup or their third-string quarterback in that game.
Yep. What if, here's the other thing too, that if we got both starters, original starters that actually played in this type of game, the other question is, were any of them banged up at some point during the season and come back and start that game? Because if I'm remembering correctly with Petras, he was injured for a little bit of that year, then came back and played in that game. God, was there a year that it was the Jake Rudock and CJ Beathard? Was Beathard playing at the end of that year too? I'm trying to remember the absolute glorious spectacle that has been quarterback play and injury situation at both schools. But I would be curious to see if both quarterbacks go through unscathed. What are these teams looking like as far as what is their record? Because, I mean, it's a huge part. I mean, Iowa's got other things going for them defensively. We know that. But if they have a healthy Cade McNamara throughout the entire year, what that actually means for an offense that doesn't have to be great, just has to be a little bit more than serviceable for them to be a threat or something that could cause issues up top in the Big Ten preseason rankings, where both of these teams would be. To me, that's a bigger question of Cade McNamara's going into his 12th start of the season and Dylan Raiola is going into his 12th start of the season. Where are these teams at as far as win-loss? Where are these teams at in offensive production? And what type of a game would we ultimately see between those two if that is the case? Because I think it would be actually maybe one of the better Iowa-Nebraska games that we've ever seen.
If Dylan Raiola starts against Iowa on November 29th, Nebraska will win. And I'm saying this because history tells you that.
Book it.
So the series has been one-sided. Nebraska's gotten kicked by Iowa. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. Those are facts.
Mm-hmm.
So they played 13 times since Nebraska's been in the Big Ten, and Nebraska's only won 4 times. The 4 times that they've won, their opening day starting quarterback has started at the end of the year against Iowa. Casey Thompson, Tommy Armstrong, Taylor Martinez twice.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go off history that if Nebraska's starting quarterback, which Nebraska has not had a starting quarterback start all 12 games since Tanner Lee did in 17, if Dylan Raiola starts against Iowa, Nebraska wins. And I'm going off of history. Book it. Put it on the board. Yes.
Thanks, Hawk. Oh, God, that is it is such a I know this is so far down the road. And in a way to get in this conversation, you have to project what would be essentially our worst nightmare. Is history would tell you that either Dylan is dinged up or something is keeping him from starting, whether it's a significant, like a seriously significant injury or not. The thought of that, I go back to, okay, where would Nebraska be at that point? But then I'm also thinking if both teams are playing, let's say I was playing a Brendan Sullivan and Nebraska's playing either Heinrich or Grimstad or somebody, which team is going to be better equipped to show out in that game? And I think that answer is clearly Iowa. I mean, I think if that is the scenario going in, then I think it's clearly advantage Iowa, which let's stay healthy. Let's just do that.
I mean, Nebraska had 2 guys start the year last year in the first couple of months. They didn't even play against Iowa.
No.
Because they were injured.
Mm-hmm. One might be the starter at Arizona State.
Oh, really?
Jeff Sims is competing. It's him and Sam Levitt, man.
It's a fun place.
Well, wasn't that supposed to be that way he knew that were going in?
Yeah,
does he have the lead?
So he was told from Kenny Dillingham that he would, hey, we've got this guy, Sam Levitt, and Sam Levitt's pretty darn good, but you can come here and you can compete your butt off. And so far, he said it's now, again, this could be a lot of smoke and mirrors, but according to the recent breakdown of that race is that it is dead even and that Jeff Sims is playing his way into contention. How about that?
I don't know if we're ready to live in a world if Jeff Sims had success at Arizona State.
Well, the thing
doesn't turn the ball over and is like considered one of the better quarterbacks in a nice quarterback league.
This is why I don't know if I can watch Pittsburgh Steeler games because I'm afraid Justin Fields going to be doing that. I did like though. So Kenny Dillingham was talking about his film before
at Nebraska.
Yeah, and said he gave you 85% good moments, and then he just had basically what the hell were you doing moments. So our objective is to minimize the what the hell were you doing moments. So he wasn't sugarcoating it. I like
that slogan. That should be the slogan for Nebraska football moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
We are trying to mitigate the what the hell are you doing moments.
Yeah.
If we can fix those, then we like where we're at.
Yep.
God, how come Rule hasn't used that?
I know.
That's a great line. Well,
it was good.
Good for him. I hope it works out, and I hope Arizona State beats Colorado.
Of course.
And he does nothing but throw darts.
Throws darts and then has like a 59-yard run for nostalgia.
What a day on that website yesterday. Off of a bad edit.
Yep.
A bad edit. I was Colorado fans, man. I'd be upset at my social media team.
Yeah.
They did your program dirty.
Again, this is not just coming from a team that is going to be on your schedule. This is coming from all of college football too.
Your
reach, Gary, I think also helped it.
You got trolled by an amateur summer league baseball team as well.
Oh, who?
The Portland.
Who not?
The baseball team in Portland.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think the Portland Timbers as well.
The entire city.
I mean,
the Blazers
there are some great
ones. The Savannah Bananas get in there.
There are some great ones out there, like the Montana one,
Idaho,
where they show practice video,
mm-hmm.
and the quarterback drops back and he throws it, and all of a sudden it's their winning touchdown pass against North Dakota State in the playoffs.
I did see that one, yeah.
But the best one I saw here, I got to bring it up. I got to bring it up on Twitter.
Like, wait, it got cold all of a sudden in Montana.
Let's
There's
see.
snow.
Eric, Well, this has already been a busy morning. I got to scroll way back here. Eric shared it with me. Oh, on pregame Empire.
Mm-hmm.
You remember the Michigan State fan? He was built for the cold. Came
Yeah,
out on the
yeah,
field to
yeah.
attempt a field goal to win some money.
Yep.
And he kind of stumbled as he went to kick the ball.
Yeah.
So the edit then is the ball going through the goalpost and Michigan State coming off the sideline celebrating a walk-off field goal.
They brought it on themselves.
That
is amazing.
That might be.
That's the winner.
Yeah. What I love the sport. The sport is great. The sport is unbeaten. You can tell us about conference realignment, portal, NIL, but when it comes to the end of the day, this is a great sport. This is such a great sport that 3 weeks from tonight starts for some actually a week before, because don't forget you get the game in Dublin between Florida State and Georgia Tech.
0.
Game will begin with an onside kicker.
Should be every year commemorative.
I think there should always be an onside kick in Dublin now. Always.
Like ceremonial.
Yeah.
Kind of like in the NBA when they had the red, white, and blue ball and the two ABA teams would play. And
Mike Norvell, you like your job?
I got an idea.
Georgia Tech will never see it coming. Jimmy's got an update coming up next. Tim Kirkchin coming up in about 25 minutes on 1620 The Zone.
Just so everyone knows, I have purchased my UMass football hoodie. Go Minutemen, America's team. All right. The Storm Chasers, they could be America's team too if they want. You want. They evened the series with the I-Cubs, winning 6-2 at Warner Park yesterday, last night, whatever. Noah Cameron worked yet another stellar outing at a second start with the Chasers as he tossed 6 one-run innings with 7 strikeouts and no walks for a second AAA quality start. As many appearances at that level. For his first 2 games with the Storm Chasers, the left-hander has struck out 17 with no walks over 12 and 2/3 innings. The series continues tonight.
They had a raccoon in the ballpark last night.
Nice. Did they give it away?
No.
It wasn't the same raccoon that was at the College World Series a couple of years ago, was it?
I don't know, but it was. It did not harm anybody.
Good.
But it was in the stands during the game.
Oh, okay.
Some are saying after the Storm Chasers rallied with 6 in the 7th last night that they will have a rally raccoon.
The rally raccoon.
Nice. So you should have seen the guy that came. I'm not sure who this guy was. He looked official, but he came to get the raccoon, and
He looked like he was from Animal Control.
it looked like he
Or
was
is he just a fan?
trying to get it with a fishing net.
Was it Marty?
Oh.
Because he does everything.
No, Marty was involved, and I thought because Marty's from Louisiana, that he would just pick up the raccoon with his hands.
I thought you were going to say something about cooking it later.
No.
Where's Eddie? Usually eats these damn things.
So you remember there was a video
I saw the water
of
boy.
Arkansas's ballpark a couple of years ago, and a fan caught a raccoon on his own that was in the stands.
Yeah.
So I thought Marty, being from Louisiana, would walk down into the stands because it was behind home plate.
Yeah, just because it was a Wednesday.
Pick up the raccoon. But they had to bring some guy in that looked official because he had like the uniform on, but he was trying to catch it with like a fishing net.
I would think a fishing net could be problematic. I would think that a raccoon could get out of a...
Raccoons are nasty, man.
Yeah, they are. I would think you could get out of a fishing net, too, unless it was very solid reinforced netting.
But the Storm Chasers were scuttling last night. And then
Until
all of
the
a sudden
raccoon?
they caught the raccoon, and the Storm Chasers took off and got a 6-2 victory.
Have they named it yet? That's when you know it'll become the Rally Raccoon. Have they named it like Rocky? I don't know.
Fred.
It's got to have an R, right? Ronaldo, the raccoon. No?
It didn't look
Okay.
like a Ronaldo. I saw pictures.
By the way, the guy that was official, did he have any form of khaki or Carhartt?
He had the light gray shirt with the black pants.
Okay.
He looked official.
All right. Yep. Yeah, I think he's official then.
He kind of
Lululemon.
He kind of seemed like he knew what he was doing.
Okay. Good.
Or at least fake it till you make it. Ortho, Nebraska from Elkhorn defeated North Dakota champion Fargo, the whole damn city, 2-1 yesterday at the American Legion Central Plains Regional. And then after the game, they said, you guys will be up to snow by up your ass in about a month. Gil Schrader pitched a complete game, scattering 6 hits while striking out 6. The 33-11 Antlers, congratulations to them, scored both their runs in the third inning. Fargo scored a run in the 7th, but Elkhorn hung on for the win. And then they all rejoiced with beverages together because Fargo is a terrific beer-drinking town. I would know. The team returns to action Thursday, 3:30 against Farmington. They're from Minnesota. Following a breakthrough season, Nebraska soccer is included among some of the sport's perennial powers in a preseason poll. This is a good thing. The Huskers are ranked 6th in the preseason United States Soccer Coaches poll. The Huskers returned 10 starters from last year's group that won the Big Ten regular season title and advanced to the NCAA Elite Eight. Defending champion Florida State, soon to be of a conference to be named, anyone, whoever wants them, followed by Stanford of the ACC, BYU of the Big 12, Penn State of the Big 36, Clemson of the ACC, and Nebraska will play each other. Of the 5 other ranked Big Ten teams this season, you have Penn State, UCLA, Michigan State, Wisconsin, Southern California, and Iowa. The NCAA announced a 4-year show cause order for former Michigan coach and American hero Jim Harbaugh on Wednesday for impermissible contact with recruits and players while access was restricted during the COVID, effectively banning him from college athletics until August 2028. Whatever will he do? The NCAA said Harbaugh, who left his alma mater to coach your San Diego, now Los Angeles Chargers, after last season's national championship, engaged in unethical conduct, failed to promote an atmosphere of compliance, and violated head coach responsibility obligations. The NCAA had already put Michigan on 3 years probation along with a fine and recruiting limits after reaching a negotiated resolution in the case. Harbaugh did not go along with the agreement, disputing allegations. He failed to cooperate with investigators. That's right, stick it to him. So his case was handled separately. Baseball, Bobby Witt Jr. is good. You didn't know. He had 2 home runs last night, a double, 4 RBIs. As the Kansas City Royals tell the rest of the KC Metro, it's still very much baseball season. They beat the Boston Red Sox 8-4 last night at the K to salvage the final game of a 3-game series. With the victory, they move 1.5 games ahead of Boston in the race for a wild card spot in the American League, something that would have been hard to imagine 20 years ago. In the AL Central, the Royals moved to within a half game of second place Minnesota, who lost to the Cubs. The Royals are 4 games back of the Cleveland Guardians, who were swept in a doubleheader by the Diamondbacks.
Oh, it's 5 in a row,
Congratulations,
guys. It's 5 in a row.
You called it. You projected.
No,
I
didn't
put it out there in the universe that they fall apart.
To be fair, thanks for trying to give me the benefit of the doubt there. No, last week I started turning the corner because they started playing better again, and then they dropped 5 in a row, including getting swept by the D-backs. And now we've got a race again.
Yippee. Called that. The Royals have homered in 13 consecutive games, also something that would have been hard to imagine 20 years ago. A lot of things would have been hard to imagine 20 years ago, trust me. Tied for second longest streak in club history, finally, Kyle Schwarber finished with 3 homers and tied a career high with 7 RBIs at a 9-4 victory over the Dodgers late last night at Dodger Stadium. The Phillies won 2 of 3 in the matchup of the National League's 2 best teams in a rematch of some NLCSs from the late 70s and early 80s. I'm sure that played a big factor in the team's prep for the game.
Hey, I'm glad you mentioned Nebraska women's soccer. So we don't talk a lot of soccer on this show, but Nebraska women's soccer is preseason 6th in the country.
They're good.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
We're
a soccer state now.
Karina LeBlanc, is Tanya Frank. Are they all still playing? I could go on and on.
I guess Tanya Tucker.
You called games, right?
Yes.
Yes. So you're going to your Rolodex of names of.
I think I am blown away by this. They lost Eleanor Dale, who was a great player last year. They had a really good season last year. Remember, they went to the NCAA tournament last year. Here's the crazy thing, and I brought this up before on the show about the Nebraska women's soccer program. It was the first Big 8 program to add women's soccer as a varsity sport.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Byrne wanted to add soccer. So they hired this guy from Canada, and he's like, okay. They were playing out at the Abbott Sports Complex.
Yep.
But, they said, hey, we're going to make a commitment to soccer. So he takes the job. And they were big time in the 90s. I mean, they were dating football players, they were marrying football players, and they were winning a lot of big soccer matches. Right. And soccer was a big deal. Yeah, we did the games. And they would fill Abbott Sports Complex. Well, as soccer goes on and they go back on campus and they're playing it, in the middle of Ed Weir track, and they're not very good. Like Nebraska women's soccer had scuttled for a while. And I was like, Jesus, is Coach Walker, and he doesn't talk to the media, so you don't really ever get to know him. But he is super well respected in the sport, and he's well known in the state. You're like, man, is this going to be it? He is beginning his 30th year as the head coach at Nebraska.
Whoa, and same guy.
And they are 6th. Oh,
that's cool.
He could tell stories probably of all the athletic directors and all the stuff that's gone on at Nebraska.
You said Ron Brown and him need to do a podcast.
But John Walker
could host it.
Is in his 30th year. And a couple of years ago, they were really scuttling.
Mm-hmm.
And they play in a really nice facility. Hibner Stadium is is a great pitch. They draw well. When I saw this release yesterday, I was like, whoa, Nebraska women's soccer is preseason 6th. They've sold out their season tickets. Is John Walker the comeback coach of the year, period? It's a kind of an amazing story because I thought they would okay, he's been here for a long time. We got this really nice facility. Big Ten is okay. Yeah. We're not going to the NCAA tournament. Maybe we got to make a move. Maybe he retires. And all of a sudden, they go to the NCAA tournament last year. They win a couple of games, and now they're 6th preseason. Nebraska women's soccer is 6th in the preseason.
That's got to be the highest, right, that they've ever had?
Preseason, I think so.
Preseason, right?
I don't know enough.
I don't either.
But it's
good. I'm just going to assume it is.
It's a hell of a story.
Yeah.
And I do like this. I got on them a little bit because they would not play like Creighton and Omaha on a regular basis. Like they went from, was it like 2005 to last year before they played Creighton.
Mm-hmm.
And I was always like, why doesn't Nebraska and Creighton at least play in soccer? Tim Walter's got a great program at Omaha.
Yep.
Why don't they play?
Yep.
Well, now Nebraska in Lincoln is hosting Creighton and Omaha back to back. There's six preseason. This is women's soccer at Nebraska.
Well, and I saw images of the exhibition game that they had against UMKC. It was packed for an exhibition.
Yeah,
it was packed.
Have you been there?
I have been there. Yeah, we actually did so when they first opened, and this is when we were just partnering with the network, we got to do broadcasts at the different facilities. So we went to the tennis complex, which was pretty cool. We got to do a show from the revamped Devaney Center that was made for volleyball. And then our last one was actually at Hibner. And then they had a game that night. I didn't stick around for it, but yeah, we were able to do, and I remember this though. That's why I bring up what happened Monday night is this would have been, it would have been an exhibition as well. There were hardly anybody there. I mean, it's a really cool, it's a very good setup, especially from a media standpoint. You got all kinds of room and everything, but just the overall layout of it is very nice. But yeah, there wasn't really any buzz about it. Now fast forward several years later for, really an exhibition that they're playing against UMKC, that place was pretty much packed. Yeah, it's an awesome facility.
Yeah, shout out Sarah Weber, who's from Gretna, who's one of their better players. I mean, he recruits in state, and that they're 6th in the preseason. That is wild to me. Good for John, man. He's a good dude, and he's a lifer. He is a Nebraska lifer. I mean, there used to be the Francis Allens and the Tom Osborns, the coaches that were the head coach of their respective sport for decades. John is like one of the rare breeds that has been now going into his 3rd decade as a head coach at Nebraska. Poll question: which football program on campus at Nebraska will have a better season? I want to be
fair and balanced.
I want to be friendly
if you're
with
serious,
all of our soccer fans listening.
Yeah.
That's cool. Event today starting is the Pinnacle Bank Championship out at Indian Creek.
Yeah, just before 10 o'clock, I believe is when.
Let's be honest. It's a great story. Gooch was on with us the other day. They're going to get a lot of publicity. I think it's really damn cool. And I hope Dad has a good weekend and is playing in one of the final pairings on Sunday. And this tournament needs that kind of story because we don't know who the other golfers are unless they're local guys. We're not there to cheer on and root for Bob Smith from Springfield, Missouri. We need more local. This has to be of the Pinnacle Bank Championship moments. And I know they've had guys that have won and got their card and have moved on to the PGA and have won events on the PGA that were on the Corn Ferry, and maybe they won in Omaha and they also have won on the PGA. We don't know that. Okay, I'm a golf fan. I'm a golfer. We don't know that. We only want to talk about the local. The Gucheskis are going to make the Pinnacle Bank Championship. And I'm going to tell you, I think this might be the biggest story that this event has had since they changed from the Cox Classic to Pinnacle Bank out at Indian Creek.
I don't think there's any question. I don't think there's any question that this tells you right everything you need to know about what's happening today. Because as we know, we talked to him earlier in the week that Scott and his sons are playing in this event, but the fact that they are actually all in the same pairing. This was a tweet earlier from Gooch that I think is just absolutely perfect. He said, a lot of weeks I get paired with guys and I'm old enough to be their dad. This week, I am their dad. That's not just one of the coolest things here locally with this event. This has got to be one of the cooler, somewhat hidden stories in golf this weekend. I'm even talking about the Wyndham because the PGA knows Scott Guchevsky. Okay. They obviously know about his sons too. To know that they are all paired in an actual pro event is this might be one of those stories that goes a little bit more under the radar. And then when it's thrown down on your desk, if you're covering national sports, you're thinking, wait a minute, I know that name. And his sons are pretty damn good. And they're all paired together in this event in their hometown. Wow. That is awesome.
Hey, do they have we've been kind of lucky. We're a really, really good golf community. We got some really, really good public and private golf courses.
Yeah.
Out in Western Nebraska, you have Lost Rail. But we used to have, when Bob Gibson was alive, we'd have the Bob Gibson Classic.
Yep.
And Bob would bring some of the legends into Omaha, and it was such a cool deal. We talked the other day about the Cox Classic.
Yeah. I caddied one year, by the way, for that. So at Millard,
Bob Gibson?
Yeah, Millard South, a lot of the baseball players, and then Millard West got in on it too, got a lot of baseball players would be asked to help out and caddy for some of them. I can tell you that I didn't personally have him, but George Brett is a little bit cheap.
Whoa.
Because everybody was getting
Did
tipped.
you eat crab legs with him at the Bellagio?
Did not. Everybody was getting tipped. I didn't get any of the actual baseball players. I had some of the dignitaries that were there. So I got but I got a good.
My buddy got George Brett and I got Mike Fahey.
But you know what? God, who was it? It was someone.
PJ Morgan.
It was someone with like UP or something.
I
can't remember.
had a caddy for the group that had all the former mayors of Omaha.
But you know what? I got tipped.
Hal Dobb.
I got tipped $100. George Brett. I got to ask my buddy Tony about this.
Got some fruit stripe
But I
gum.
think it was like
I
think it was like $10. Yeah, it was bad. And
Don't
we were
spend that all
laughing
in one
because
place there,
we were
young
all
man.
jealous of him that he had George Brett. And then we as kids do, we're like, hey, how much money did you make? How much money did you make? And he's like, yeah, I might be selling just a little bit short, but he came way under. I mean, this was like Matt Kuchar type stuff.
Ooh.
Yeah, this was kind of Cooch. Yeah.
Get George on the phone.
Yeah.
Let's reconcile this.
You're like, why don't you like the tip? Maybe his whole thing was, why tip someone to do something that I could have done myself? I could have pulled the club out of my bag, but you were there. I don't need to tip you.
But do they have
Did he ask him about hemorrhoids?
Do they have a pro-am? And if they do they not make it like real public? Like I saw Larry the Cable Guy was there yesterday.
Yeah, the Pro-Am, so they do a Monday and then the Wednesday. The Wednesday's the biggest one. They do a morning group and an afternoon group.
But they don't, like the Cox Classic, that was a big deal.
Yeah.
Like, do they not publish it or make a lot of noise about it?
No, not really.
Do they not have like celebrities?
They kind of do. You're right. I think the biggest one was Larry the Cable. I think Larry the Cable Guy and Matt Davidson were paired one year in a group. And then the way that usually works is you are paired with
a fly on the wall.
So I played in it 1 year.
So they don't have like celebrities. So they have like
thanks.
They like
no, I'm not kidding. No, I'm not furthest thing from it. But yeah, like major celebrities. No,
so Scott Gucheski is playing with Grant Nealon from Carson Wealth.
Yes, exactly. Because you pay to be
Shout
in
out
those.
Former Omaha Maverick athlete.
Mm-hmm. You pay to be in those things. So yeah, it's not a lot.
Okay.
They'll draw a couple of people, but yeah, I would say the height of it has been Larry the Cable Guy. Otherwise, it's a lot of people that have corporate sponsorships with the event or are somehow tied or just decided to pay for it. The coolest thing about it is you get a pro for each 9. They're caddies. You've played that course several times and you think you know where your putt's supposed to go. They've been there for 2 days and they just point to a spot and say, hey, just go right here. And you do. And you're like, oh my God, can you hang out with me next weekend too? I got a big money game with some buddies. Can I get you to stick around?
We need to find a way into Larry's golf tournament. Because man, talk about celebs, friends of Larry that come to Nebraska and play.
Oh, I'm sure.
He's got a laundry list of great people. His golf tournament is pretty awesome.
Yeah. I can imagine there's probably a lot more of the who's who of entertainment than what you see on Monday and Wednesday. Yeah, it is. It's more of a corporate thing. Again, I remember the year I played in it, Matt Davison and Larry the Cable Guy were paired. That was probably the height of Larry the Cable Guy being the celebrity, if you will. I think there's been some former Huskers on and off. It wouldn't shock me if Tommy Frazier's played in it.
Okay.
I bet he's probably been in it. But as far as...
But they don't like advertise it big, do they?
They really don't. I guess you can attend. Gary Java's the whole one announcer, so you're up there like, 4 please, on the tee, Gary Sharp, and then your hands start shaking, but then you realize no one's clapping.
Gary Java, the PA voice for Creighton Prep football?
Yeah,
okay.
That Gary Java.
Yeah.
Then you're looking behind and you realize, oh, there's nobody here. Okay, swing away. So you could actually attend those if you want, and they do let you, but yeah, it's nothing.
I know, man, the Bob Gibson Classic, and the story I heard is Bob didn't feel like Omaha was reciprocal to the work that he put in to bring all the celebrities here, so that's why it ended. But geez, that was a heck of a list of people that he would bring to Omaha to play in the Bob Gibson Classic. We will bring you Tim Kirkjian from ESPN, who has talked plenty about Bob Gibson, including Johnny Bench was on his podcast recently, and they were talking about Bob Gibson. We will talk about a lot of stuff with the fine journalist from ESPN and podcaster, Mr. Tim Kirkjian, will join us next on 1620 The Zone. All right, welcome back in Mornings with Sharp and Handley, and we welcome in from ESPN and the co-host of a great podcast, Great Game or What, Tim Kirkchin joins us. Good morning, Tim.
Hi, fellas. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Hey, I have to ask you. First of all, I'm a big fan of the podcast that you do with your son. I think it's funny. It's people that have gotten to know your personality, the guests you have on. But did I hear correctly that you drive to your son's house in Philadelphia like 3+ hours to do the podcast?
Yeah, I'm 67 years old. I'm a complete dope when it comes to technology. My biggest fear in life is being trapped at home with technology surrounding me, and I can't figure out how to make it work. So my son, he's 30. He's a magician. He can figure all of this stuff out. So there's a great calm about me when I'm sitting next to him, because if something goes wrong, he's going to fix it. Whereas if something goes wrong when I'm alone in the house, it's not good.
And isn't there just something, about covering baseball and being able to travel on the road? I mean, you can go and say there's just something about the road tripping too, right?
Yeah, I'm good in the car. I drive a lot. I like the serenity of the car. I have XM radio. I can listen to games. I can listen to talk shows, and I'm all by myself. Climate controlled Diet Mountain Dew in the car on the drive. So it's this is the life I've carved out for myself, but it works for me.
Hey, let's start with Bobby Witt Jr. As you know, because you've talked about it. Baseball is in a really good spot right now with their young talent. The shortstop position is unbelievable, the amount of talent that is playing shortstop. But closer to home here in Omaha, Tim, as you know, Bobby Witt Jr. has become a must-watch. He's 24. Royals made a great move in the offseason to lock him up. He was big last night in a game they had to win against Boston. But we're on August 8th, and we're going to be talking about the AL MVP race between a guy that is at shortstop for the Royals and then a New York Yankee. When it's all said and done and we maneuver through the next 2 months of the season, what will determine, you think, on who will win the American League MVP?
Yeah, it's a great race. And right now, with all due respect to everyone else, I think it's a two-man race. That's how good Judge and Bobby Witt have been. I'm a big believer, being a tired old man, that if you take your team into the playoffs, this is how we used to judge the MVP was, did you help your team win? Did you get them into the playoffs? I mean, Chipper Jones won his MVP in 1999 because he carried the Braves down the stretch into the playoffs, and people recognize that. So let's say Bobby Witt has this kind of season, OPS over 1,000, league in hitting, and obviously, and is going to be a 30-30 guy this year. Mm-hmm. If he takes them into the playoffs, a team that won 56 games last year, and he is the best player on the team, clearly, then he's going to get a lot of votes. However, Aaron Judge is in the same spot. Where would the Yankees be without him? Mm-hmm. And he's going to hit over 50 homers. So I think we have to watch and see how great these guys are down the stretch. That's how close the voting could be for this award.
You are obviously in these circles a lot more, but to kind of follow up on what Gary brings up with Bobby Witt Jr., I feel like lately a lot of the conversation has been about his ability to play. I think one of the best lines used last night when he was doing what he's doing was coming from the Red Sox broadcast. And they said, baseball's not supposed to be this easy, but he's making it look that easy. Going into the year, I thought we'd be continuing to be mesmerized by Shohei Ohtani. The fact that Bobby Witt Jr. gets a lot of the conversation, even a guy like Aaron Judge, but even Shohei Ohtani, what does that say about not only what he's doing this year, but his presence in Major League Baseball going forward as we're looking for faces of this sport?
Yeah, the faces of the sport are everywhere, and three of them are shortstops: Gunnar Henderson, Ellie De La Cruz, and of course Bobby Witt Jr. This is why the game is in such good hands, because arguably the best of that group, Bobby Witt, not only knows how to play, he understands how everything works around the game because his father was a really good pitcher for a long time. So that's why I love where baseball is. And if we can follow the lead of a shortstop, a young shortstop who might be the fastest player in the league and nearly won the home run hitting contest at the All-Star game, I mean, that's precisely what we're looking for. And being a great defensive player also is crucial. So this is why I tell people for the last 12 years, I've never seen this kind of influx of young, athletic, ready players when they get to the big leagues, and they come every year. But this current wave with all the shortstops led by Bobby Witt, it is simply breathtaking to watch.
ESPN's Tim Kirkland joining us here on 1620 The Zone. They got a big win last night, late night, in L.A. against the Dodgers. I'm talking about the Phillies, and Kyle Schwarber had a monster game. It is kind of the dog days of the season. The Phillies are still in a good spot. Tim, if you had to do your quick power rankings, who are a couple of teams that would not surprise you 3 months from now are getting ready to make a run to the World Series?
Well, you guys know all the usual suspects. I mean, the Dodgers, once they get healthy, are going to be dangerous. The Phillies are always dangerous. The Orioles are really good. The Yankees are getting better. You asked for a bit of a surprise. Just don't take your eyes off the Diamondbacks. They went to the World Series last year. This is a similar charge that they're making this year. They've basically been the best team in baseball certainly since the All-Star break, them and the Padres. They are a very dangerous team now that Eduardo Rodriguez is back. Merrill Kelly is coming back. Offensively, they have been devastating for the last couple of weeks. So this is why baseball is so beautiful, fellas. You can look at 6 or 7 or even 8 teams that maybe are even better than the Diamondbacks, and yet the 8th seed, let's call them for the moment, is really charging, and you cannot look past them because they're good enough to go back to the World Series again.
Tim, the more bad news for Mike Trout and having to be shelved yet again. When we have the conversation about Mike Trout, we know the type of player he is, the numbers that he's put up, what he's done when he's able to get through the majority of a season. This latest health development and setback, what type of conversations are we now having about Mike Trout?
Well, it's really discouraging because I love watching him play. He still is one of the best players in baseball when he's healthy, but he hasn't been healthy now the second half of the year for basically 5 years. So I think the question is he ever going to be healthy again to the point that we're going to look at him and say he's the best player in baseball? Because he essentially was for almost a 10-year period. Yeah. How many players have been the best player in baseball for that length of time? But so maybe we're not going to talk about him someday as the greatest player we've ever seen, because I saw Willie Mays play and he's the greatest player I've ever seen. But that may just change the discussion, but it doesn't change the discussion. Is Mike Trout a Hall of Famer? The answer is an emphatic yes. His career ended today. He would be a Hall of Famer. I don't care how many times he's been hurt. Look at the body of work. It is amazing.
What's the moment that you went, wow, seeing Willie Mays play?
Well, I was 8 and I was hopelessly addicted to baseball already. And Willie Mays I was mesmerized by him, but we got a color television. And the first time, this is 1965, and the first time I ever watched a color television, we watched the 65 All-Star game, and Willie Mays hit a home run in living color to lead off the 65 All-Star game. And I went, oh my gosh, this is it. This is the greatest player anyone had ever seen to that point. And that's when I was completely lost in Willie Mays after that. And every single time I watched him on TV, because again, you could only see him on TV once every 3 or 4 months. But once you saw him, it was appointment viewing. You would not miss a game in which Willie Mays played. That's how great he was.
Speaking of appointment viewing, we see the College World Series come through here every year. We see guys that shine on that stage, and when we hear their name drafted, weeks later, we're always curious at what time are we going to see them on the biggest of stages. It didn't take long for guys like Wyatt Langford, but especially now Paul Skeens, and what he has meant to not just the Pirates organization, but the must-see, the it factor for a guy that has just broken into the Major League Baseball. It wasn't that long ago, Tim, that he was in Omaha pitching against the Omaha Storm Chasers in AAA, and then now he's dominating at that level. Do you look at what he's doing right now and have any type of comp of, yeah, it reminds me of this, or he has this type of presence so early in someone's career?
Well, the best I can do is Fernando Valenzuela, and I've covered baseball so long. I actually was a tiny part of Fernando Mania. His first 8 starts in 1981, he completed all of them. He allowed 4 earned runs in 72 innings and threw 5 shutouts in 8 starts. That's how dominant he was. And the game had never seen, and the charisma and the whole Latino with Southern California, Mexico, it was just the most amazing thing you've ever seen. So now Paul Skeens is different because he's not allowed to go 9 innings. I think if we allowed him to go 9 innings, he would. He certainly throws a lot harder than Fernando Valenzuela did, but I think Skeens has passed Steven Strasburg and basically everyone else, and we have to go back, 43 years to find a comp for him. That's how dominant and how much presence he has had so far in his major league career.
Great stuff. Tim, we appreciate your time as always and the conversation. We're big fans, and we look forward to doing this again as maybe we get closer to the postseason.
Okay, fellas, thank you.
That's Tim Kirkchin from ESPN. Try not to talk about the White Sox.
I was.
They did lose yesterday.
They
by the
did,
way.
in typical White Sox fashion, where they were holding a lead late and then gave up 3. And then ended up losing to the Mighty A's. So it's back on.
Well,
although I can't say anything now because right now Cleveland's got a 5-game losing streak.
Yeah, and you got a huge series with the Twins this weekend up at Target Field.
Yep.
White Sox are on a pace for 123 losses. Let's go back to Bobby Witt Jr., who last night, 2 homers, 4 RBIs. He's got 84 RBIs on the year. Kind of not lost if you're a Royals fan, but Vinny Pasquantino is having a great year.
Mm-hmm.
It is rare for a Kansas City Royal first baseman to have 100 RBIs in a season. Vinny's got 84. So, and he's on, 11-game hitting streak. He's having a really good year as well. Let's just for a moment pause, because you brought up George Brett.
Mm-hmm.
The Kansas City Royals have a player that is must-watch every night, and his name's not George Brett.
Yeah.
They have a guy that every night you must watch and is mentioned in the same sentence as Aaron Judge of the New York Yankees. I agree with Tim. It's going to be a close race. The Royals have to get to the postseason. Right now, they're in the 3rd wild card. They won last night against the Red Sox to at least win 1 game in that series. They're up 1.5 games. But if you factor in everything that Bobby Witt Jr. does for the Royals, and I know Judge is carrying the Yankees, but I also look at, they're not very far apart in their defense.
Yeah.
This is going to be a great race. But if you make the playoffs, and I'm not into small market, big market, that has not proven to be true when it comes to MVP voting, because there have been very few Yankee MVPs in the last couple of decades.
Mm-hmm.
They've had to set records to get an MVP. I think Bobby Witt Jr., if he continues on this pace, because he's at 349, he wins the American League MVP if the Royals are in the postseason.
I would agree. And I think this is where I will throw in big market, little market, as far as expectations. To me, that matters. To me, your surroundings and is Aaron Judge's impact, is his numbers obviously helping the Yankees get to where they ultimately will wind up? Yeah, but you also have a roster that is a little bit more loaded. Now, Kansas City's going to get overlooked because, as you pointed out, smaller market.
No, but
they did spend.
That's not true. And when it comes to voting in the MVP, that's not true.
Sure, and that I wouldn't push back on that at all. From the standpoint of expectations for both teams going into the season and where they ultimately can finish, and let's also keep in mind that the American League Central is much more competitive than it has been in years.
Unfortunately, it has the White Sox at the bottom, but you're right. The top 3 teams are
they're all within distance of each other, and you essentially could see 2 teams come out of the Central that are playing in the postseason. Which, I mean, even when a team would represent the American League Central of winning that division, it was a team like, okay, they're going to be out in the first round. So you've got depth in that division. Bobby Witt Jr. is taking that division. As much as I love my Cleveland baseball team, I can't ignore the fact that the biggest superstar, not only in that division, but in the American League, I think, is Bobby Witt Jr. I think the conversations speak for themselves because of the way he's being talked about. It was just this little snippet last night of that game when he hits that last home run where you hear, I think it was either Millar. I'm not sure who was on the Nesson broadcast, but I mean, he said it perfectly.
In that case, it'd be Millar.
Millar said it perfectly, though. Said baseball's not supposed to be this easy. And that's what Bobby Witt Jr. is doing when we think of the true five-tool player, of displaying that almost every night. Aaron Judge will give you the arm, will give you the defense, will give you the offense. But it's, in my opinion now, I don't watch every Yankee game every time Aaron Judge is on the field. But what I know is when Bobby Witt has it going on, it's usually almost every one of those tools is on full display night in and night out in a 162-game schedule. That is truly remarkable. What he's doing offensively is fantastic, but his defense, we've seen the plays that he's made in the hole, the range that he's made, and then, oh yeah, the dude can run. So it's just, if the Royals find themselves in the playoffs, I don't know how he can't be.
Yeah, I mean, right now it's Judge's. I mean, Aaron Judge had an incredible year. It's cool that both these guys are being mentioned. So Judge is in the lead, in my opinion. Bobby Witt Jr. has made a race of it. There's a couple of things with him and the Royals. In Kansas City, yes, small market. They're kind of in between of what we're going to do in terms of money. I mean, Bobby Witt Jr. could help them get financing and votes for a new stadium.
Yeah,
because there's a future there. What they did in the offseason still flies under the radar of one of the best offseason moves. They signed him to an 11-year deal. This is the Kansas City Royals. 11 years, $288.7 million. The Kansas City Royals in that market locked up a guy for that long where you can watch him last night and go, oh, man, he's going to be here for a while. So it gives you hope. But is he good enough that he'll attract free agents to Kansas City that would take less money because he's so good and they feel like they can combo with him to win a World Series? It happened with Tom Brady.
Yeah.
But people took less money. They don't now. They took less money to go to the Patriots because Brady was there and they could win a Super Bowl. It hasn't really happened in Kansas City, except if you're on the roster. Some guys that are on the roster have taken maybe less money to stay in Kansas City because they know what they have. They really haven't had a ton of openings where they attract people to come play with Mahomes like Brady did in New England. I wonder if you could do that in Kansas City with Bobby Witt Jr. If the Royals get rolling and they make the playoffs this year and they have hope and he's going to be there for a while, would you commit to going to Kansas City? And you're now talking, above the Lugos and the Wakas and the guys they added this year. You're talking like a Correa.
Right.
Could that happen in Kansas
City?
And
I think it could, to be honest. And the other part about the deal that Kansas City made is, I look at it this way. It was a great move by Kansas City to recognize that, but also, as we've talked about it, because I think Cleveland is very comparable to Kansas City when it comes to how they evaluate their talent and who they want to spend on. Now, Cleveland, I think, puts it more into their pitching staff.
Yeah.
But both organizations are developmental. Both organizations are going to hopefully reap the benefits of what was, strong development through their farm system. But also, when it comes to finally paying those guys, it usually comes down to the 11th hour, if they even decide to do it to begin with. This is how good Bobby Witt Jr. is, in my opinion. It was a no-brainer for Kansas City to essentially look at him and say, this is a given. We have to do this. Not, well, let's give it a couple more years and see how it goes. We have to do this. And so to what you bring up about what he has with 11 years and can you attract other people, to me, that's why you can do that. That's how you can get guys to maybe shave off a little bit of what they're looking for, because he is going to be the focal point. You're going to be a part of some new scenery there at Kansas City as well. You're right about his impact to be able to push things through, because it's an exciting time to be a Kansas City Royal baseball fan because of Bobby Witt Jr. But I think to that question, if a guy maybe had a 6-year deal, you're probably not considering as much, but 11 years, you're looking at it as, hey, I can get on board. We can get a couple arms to go along with it. This is probably the great time to be a Kansas City Royal with a lot of that ability to compete, to be in the postseason, and to be around Bobby Witt Jr., who we know is one of the game's true superstars right now.
Yep. All right, 53 past the hour. If you missed our chat with Tim Kirkchin from ESPN, it'll be up on the radio replay page. Steve Sipple's coming up at the bottom of the hour that we will get into. And then also Brian Edwards will stop by on this Thursday edition of Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone. All right, U.S. men's basketball team plays in the semis today against Serbia. Canada got knocked off. So Germany and France play in the other semi. Canada looked like they were the biggest test to the U.S. Now it would be Germany. Too big, too deep. U.S. 17.5-point favorite today to get to the gold medal game on Saturday. But 32 years ago today, do you guys know what happened?
What year's this? Let's see. August 92. I'm going to guess the Dream Team won their gold medal.
Yes. If you had to name the entire Dream Team, what would be one player that you know that you would miss?
Christian Laettner.
He'd be one that he'd be one of the early ones I'd get because he was the only college guy.
I might say Drexler, but that's not fair for me because I was an NBA guy, so I knew all of them.
David Robinson to me.
Yeah, I'm not going to forget him.
Yeah, I had a poster. I had the Twin Tower poster. So, I was never. He was. I wasn't even a Spurs fan, but I was a big David Robinson fan.
He celebrated a birthday 2 days ago, so he's very fresh on the mind. Greatest center I saw athletically.
I think Clyde Drexler would be a good one.
John Stockton, you might forget.
Stockton, yeah. The
okay,
nut huggers.
Yep.
He was doing short shorts before it was cool.
It all comes back. It actually all does come back. Yeah, I've totally forgot because they were doing a thing on the Dream Team. God, when was it? Well, this was just a couple of weeks ago, and they brought up Christian Laettner. They were showing the picture. I'm like, oh my God, that's right. Christian Laettner was on that team. So I literally did forget about him too.
Karl Malone might be a guy you forget.
Not for me. Karl Malone
on the Dream Team.
Yeah,
I still wish him the worst. Retired with no championships.
Because you would be able to Larry, Magic, and Bird.
Yeah,
you'd get right away
for sure.
Ewing. You might go like, oh, geez, because it's Jordan. Pippen had to come along.
Isaiah wasn't on the team.
Stockton. I mean, Barkley.
Yeah.
And then, that would be, I mean, look at, you had Pippen, you had Stockton, you had Drexler, you had Bird, you had Michael, Barkley, Mullen, Malone, Robinson, Magic, Laettner, Ewing.
It's our damn
That was
childhood.
the Dream Team. 32 years ago today, they brought home the gold.
Yeah,
Shaquille O'Neal could have been on the team, but Christian Laettner was selected instead.
Yeah. He'd go on to win Rookie of the Year the following season.
God, what would that
Later we'll talk about who won the Super Bowl that year.
In 92?
Oh, yeah.
I see. I would be curious to know if they did have Shaq and not Christian Laettner. Not that you could dominate any more than that, but what does that do for that team, even in further dominance of opponents? Does he even play? I guess would be the other question.
He'd have been the young kid with all those men.
And he would look, pictures of young Shaq are, I still like
Saw
have
him
to
in high school.
do like a double take of that. But yeah, the other part of that team would be Daly as a coach, though.
Daddy Rich.
See, that would be where I would, if you said who is the coach, you sometimes forget that, okay, well, you had a lot of good coaches during that era of the NBA that Daly would be, oh, yeah, that's right. I guess it was him. Like, what about Pat Riley? What about Phil Jackson?
I remember Lenny in 96. What I don't remember off the top of my head is who coached in 2000. I just remember Vince Carter teabagging that one dude the one morning before high school, and he's just dunking on him.
It's one of the greatest dunks in the history of basketball.
I almost skipped school that day. That was a reason.
Whoa. Was that exciting?
Well, I just don't want to go to school.
All right.
That's fair.
2 in the books, 2 to go.
Rudy
Steve
Tomjanovich.
Sipple. God. Remember, there's an interesting basketball life is Rudy T. From the punch from Kermit Washington to the greatness he had with the Rockets.
Mm-hmm. And he succeeded Phil Jackson for about 20 games in the 04-05 season.
That is true. That is
Hamlin.
Absolutely true. All right, Steve Sipple's going to join us coming up at about 8:30. His thoughts. Nebraska's a week into camp. I got thoughts about Nebraska football, period, on the 8th of August, 3 weeks and a couple of days from kickoff against UTEP in a highly
that'd be sweet.
Highly anticipated season, or is it? On 1620 The Zone.
Halftime is brought to you by Omaha Whiskey Fest 2024, the largest celebration of whiskey in the region, coming your way downtown Omaha on September 28th. And don't forget, every Wednesday right here on Mornings with Sharp and Handley for Whiskey Wednesdays, your chance to win tickets to the event.
Hey, is there any time during a radio broadcast, you're doing play-by-play, you got to do some reads. I'm listening to the Cubs game yesterday. By the way, they won 5 of 7 on the homestand, won a series against the Twins.
Yeah. Thank you, by the way.
Have the great White Sox team this weekend. Going to be difficult.
Keep the streak going.
But the Hall of Famer, Pat Hughes, in a pretty key moment yesterday, starts to do a live read for adult diapers.
Ooh.
Is there any point during the game where you should do a live read about adult diapers? Now, the Cubs broadcast, like a lot of the radio broadcasts these days, is just littered with all kinds of advertising. Like everything's sponsored.
Yeah.
There's tons of reads.
The Strikeouts brought to you by Blue Chew.
This minute of dead air presented by
adult diapers.
I would love to read those. I wish we would have had those on the network when I was at KU.
It just goes to show you they are all inclusive when it comes to any sponsors for any part of a baseball game. When you actually, do you blush a little bit when you read something about adult diapers?
I don't think. Well, Pat's that age, but maybe he's a client.
Can you have like your?
But it was in the middle of like a key moment.
Yeah,
that's when I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, the most stressful moment of the game would maybe result into adult diapers.
Like you're bottom of the ninth, planning on crapping yourself?
Yeah, we're going to need our adult diapers for this moment of the game.
Funny thing about adult diapers, and just go into a 2-minute story.
That was totally Vin Scully right there.
Who never did an adult diapers commercial, but good on Pat Hughes. I was like, okay, and then there's a base hit to right field. He had his Castellanos moment.
Was it followed up by a male testosterone pill or anything?
It was not.
Okay.
It was not.
Damn it.
All right, kick off the hour. Here is Random Mike. Good morning, Mike.
Is that a perfect match or what? Watching the Cubs if you're a Cub fan and commercial for adult diapers?
I'll let you weigh in on that one, Gary. You're the fan. I think, Mike, I could answer that with an emphatic yes.
Did you guys ask Tim about the Cubs?
No.
Gary, you think he'd say we got a shot?
Give me another 2 weeks. But they were very interesting at the trade deadline. They were not sellers. They were not necessarily buyers. But
what do you think of that guy?
Trading Morel for Paredes, good move. I mean, he was good yesterday. He's been good. He was good against the Twins. I don't know. They're their bullpen has been great. Tyson Miller was a great early season pickup. Their bullpen has been fantastic. I don't know.
Don't you like Mayweather?
Yeah. I mean, they have been much better of late. Give me about another 10 days, and I'll let you know if I think the Cubs are going to make a run like last year.
The reason I called was I was just thinking about how good fortune is so important in having great years, and a lot of it is just being injury free. But I was thinking of the good fortune we've had with these two of the additions of the team, that the odds of them coming were so low. And it was our new coach, John Butler, and our new quarterback. I mean, do you agree that if the Georgia quarterback does not decide to come back for another year, pretty likely that Dylan doesn't transfer? Is that a fair statement?
Hold on.
With the Georgia quarterback.
Well, I mean, Jeff Sims, if he comes back
Georgia,
for another year.
Georgia Tech.
The Georgia quarterback deciding to come back for another year instead of going pro.
You're talking about Carson Beck.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, do you agree Dylan probably doesn't transfer?
I don't know that whole situation. I mean, that could be very much a possibility that weighed into. It was not just one thing that changed his mind.
But certainly the timing of it.
Yeah, that probably would have worked better for Georgia. So timing is everything.
Yeah, and how impressed are you with John Butler from what you know and what you've seen?
He loves to talk ball. He's a veteran. He's probably perfect for that room and what they need. And he adds in terms of knowledge to that defensive side of the football. I think he's going to be fine. and they've got resources to help him out as he figures out back to the college game in this defense. No, he's going to be fine. His biggest thing will be deciding, what am I going to do with the cornerback opposite Tommy Hill, and what am I going to do when I have to, who are my top 10 defensive backs?
And the addition of Glenn Thomas, is that a big thing too?
I think so.
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
It just strikes me that there's been some really good fortune with this team. And I love the expression, fortune favors the brave. And having our coach, our head coach, I think is a big factor in them coming too. I mean, did you hear what Glenn Thomas said about, I don't think he was that close to Rule, but he's had players, some of Rule's former players that are really good pros, and he asked him about Rule, and he said it was just extremely positive that they said, and that was a big factor in him coming.
Well, I think he's pretty close with Rule. I know that, and obviously the relationship with Rule and Marcus Satterfield was a huge part of Glenn Thomas and being identified too, having worked with Rule too. So yeah, I would.
Rule's former players said about and their experience with him. Do you remember this article by Pete Thamel about Rule, really going back to and talking to players from Temple and Baylor, and it was just so positive, and it was rough. The practices were tough and physical, and they might not have liked it so much at the time, but they really said it worked out great, and the teams got better and better. So I'm just bummed out about Prohaska's injury. That's the only negative.
What do you got for a win total, Mike?
I hate to make these predictions, but
I know that's why I'm putting you on the spot.
I know. Like what are they worth anyway? But here's the thing: there's so many positive factors. And how about Belichick spending a lot of time with the team? I mean, that's got to help, right?
I don't know that he spent a lot of time. He spent more time with Washington because his son is there. I mean, he was here in the spring, but it's not like he's been coming back.
Yeah, I guess I think it is that. But when you spend a lot of time, at least that day, with the coaching staff, and they shared a lot of information.
Yeah, I mean, there's the one thing about this staff is they have quite the network.
Yeah.
So they like to share ideas, and as Rule has started to use a phrase, we would be foolish not to do blank. They'd be foolish not to fix some of the things they encountered last year. And they use that by talking to others.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and how about this zero tolerance for turnovers in practice? I mean, it's like we're not going to accept it. And they're going to be consequences.
Yeah,
I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, I'm with Gary.
There's a guy named Jeff Sims last year.
Yeah, that
who continued to play.
Got some other opportunities as well.
Yeah, but there's a lot of good things. And okay. You want a prediction?
Yes.
I'll say at least 8 wins.
Okay.
All right, that's a good pick, Mike. Thanks.
Love you. Bye-bye.
Right.
Oh, love you too, Mike.
Whoa,
he's a big fan of the show in the zone.
I know. I don't think I've ever gotten a love you.
Yeah,
big supporter of me, so I always appreciate.
I've never gotten a lot of love on this Thursday. Appreciate you, Mike. Love you.
You think Sip will say the same?
He might.
You guys have history.
He might.
Sip's never said. Maybe. I bailed Sip out a couple of things when we were younger.
Sip gave me advice on love, on where to go to take a potential interest, and he totally forgot when I brought that up the other day.
Was this after Twister?
No, this was I was doing a show in Lincoln with Chris Schmidt, and Sip was on, and he said, you should go to Carlos O'Kelly's. And then when I brought that up, he's like, oh, did I?
Okay. Thank you, Mike. I got a lot to, was just taking notes there. I got a lot to digest there. Pat texts in. He goes, random Mike, disappointed that Cam Kozel didn't switch sports and come play quarterback for Nebraska. So what do we got on today? We got water polo.
A little water polo, yep.
It's a big day. By the way, we are killing it in track and field. Screw you, not America. Screw you, the rest of the world.
Jesus, man.
Screw you, the rest of the world. We are running you down.
It's Nebraska.
Okay. We are winning middle and distance.
Yeah.
And we are winning sprints. And I'm telling you, I'm treating USA men's and women's track and field like I'm watching a horse race.
Mm-hmm.
And I have money on it because yesterday I'm watching Quincy Hall. Pride of Raytown South, by the way, Kansas City guy. He wins in the 400. Insane that he ran a 43-second 400. Insane that he ran that. And he hit the gas and he came back again. And we've seen that with some USA track and field. We are kicking butt. We are absolutely kicking everybody when it comes to track and field. I am now treating it like I have money on the Kentucky Derby because last night in my house, I'm like, come on, Quincy, come on, come on, come on, come on, kick it into gear, come on, there he goes, come on, come on, come on.
Like Kramer?
And come on, and then Quincy Hall finishes and wins. And I'm like, yes. I was like, it's like back in May at Churchill Downs.
I have learned more about the photo finish upper body and torso lean than I ever have in watching the sport track.
If you're not watching track and field and what we're doing with the U.S., I can't help you, okay? Because you are missing out. If you don't like the footy races, I got nothing for you. But we are absolutely dominating in a sport
Got a lot of fast people.
In a sport which doesn't get a lot of attention in this country. And let's be honest, watching the Olympics and all the Olympic sports that we see at our college level, you got to be honest, some of these sports you may not be seeing at the college level, and you might be only watching them in the Olympics.
Like rock climbing.
I don't know if that'll become a varsity sport, but that would be like, you know who would add that? Would be like Midland. Midland adds like all kinds of sports in Fremont.
Pickleball.
They would have
You're
rock
right.
climbing.
They might have
Midland just keeps
handball.
adding sports.
Yeah. Yes, they do. They have that is their
Midland,
their claim. Their claim to fame is that they have the most varsity sports in the state of Nebraska, and that includes our Division I schools as well. Did you guys watch? Because I tried to put this bug in your ear yesterday. Did you guys watch the steeplechase, the men's steeplechase? We had an accident.
I did see the guy fall.
Yeah, and it came down on his shoulder. It looked pretty bad, and they tended to him like he was because he got taken off on a stretcher. That's no joke. That steeplechase, I have so much more respect for it because the length as to which you're running when you have to clear those hurdles and then you hit water and your legs are probably already jello at the point of it'd be easy to collapse like that. There are a lot of sports this time around that I've gained a lot of respect. I told you I started off with handball. Now I'm a big steeplechase guy. And then in the midst of watching track last night.
But are you going to watch steeplechase? I like you only watch it every 4 years.
Yeah.
That's the thing about some of these sports is they have staying power in the U.S.
Oh, sure.
Like track and field, we are kicking people's butt.
Yeah.
We are running people down because it means more to us and we have want to. So we are coming from way behind to win. But when it's over, like I'm not a track guy, of course. I was more of a field guy, like the shot putter.
Yeah.
We're not watching track and field. Now, if you're in the track and field community, you are dialed into Worlds, Olympics, NCAAs, all that. But will some of these sports have any staying power after the Olympics where there is momentum that the sport grows in the U.S. or gains even more attention?
Pro handball. Come on.
I don't think so.
I don't know if there is one.
I don't think so.
Handball not catch on in this country?
There's some of these sports that are in the Olympics that we go, oh, at our college level, there are Olympic sports. Ain't going to be at your college level.
No, the Pac-12's gone.
Well, you also have financial things now where schools are going to be like, do we really need that track and field program? Do we really need wrestling? Do we really need, give me another men's sport?
Oh, math.
No, I
get rid of math.
That's why I will some of these sports that we see in the summer every 4 years, but also see on our favorite campus, all of a sudden go, and we only see them. We only have pro track and field athletes.
You're essentially asking, would we get into it more? Would we follow it more, other than every 4 years, as opposed to?
Yeah, that's what I said. Like the popularity sports are there that the popularity would grow off of what you see. Like Noah Lyles has a chance to win the 100 and 200. There's only two other men that have done that, Carl Lewis and Usain Bolt. They're both considered really good. Noah Lyles, would he be a household guy? I mean, really, of the athletes that you would recognize if they were walking down the street.
Yeah.
Can you give me a list? I'll give you Simone Biles and Katie Ledecky. Go.
Yeah, because he's not active anymore. Phelps would have always been that guy too. Probably, I'd like to think Sha'Carri Richardson. I'd like to think that I would recognize her. These we're naming some track people here. Does basketball count?
No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to watch that professional basketball.
Because
I hear those guys are good.
Like what I also thought maybe you were getting at when it came to anything in the Olympics that could have staying power, or something that you watched and wondered if it would pick up from the point of it's not played a lot here, or if it does exist, not supported, is what you were saying. If you had, okay, I'll use steeplechase, because pretty sure that's not anything that you see at the collegiate level. They don't run that with track and field. I don't know. Maybe
I think
they do.
I've seen it at the Drake Relays.
Have you? Okay.
Yeah.
I
don't think it's run in high school, but I think at
Okay.
college it's run.
Okay. But even, we'll use handball, for example. If it's something that picks up popularity, I always feel like it does at the rec level, because you feel like it's something you could do. If it's something you feel like you could play amongst your friends at a rec level, because I do think but I do think pickleball will eventually be an Olympic sport. And I think it's because everybody's gotten into it. It's a sport that is not as taxing as tennis. And so you feel like you can play it. So people participate in it a lot more, and it just kind of takes off on its own. If there's a sport in the Olympics currently that you feel like you could play amongst a rec level, and all of a sudden it's kind of that spark before the fire of popularity, that's how I think it becomes more interesting to watch on a yearly basis. Oh, see, basketball would be awesome. I would totally watch basketball.
It's ahead of its time.
Like when I watch track, especially when I watch 100 meter.
By the way, Canada looks like they have a bunch of their track team on this relay.
Bunch of hockey players.
Yeah, they look like they have a bunch of 6'2", 225-pound defensemen.
Linebacker, maybe?
That's where they come from.
Small DN.
But yeah, watching this, for instance, when you are watching some of the fastest humans in the world, and you know that you could go to, say, a college meet, and maybe they're not the fastest in the world, but they're pretty damn fast. That is exciting. It's just.
Would you go to the Frank Savine Invitational if Noah Lyles was running indoors at the Devaney Center?
If Noah Lyles was there, yeah. And there's the other part of it too. If you get an Olympian, if you get someone who is, or that is a surefire Olympian in the upcoming summer games, and you want to see that, and that's advertised, it's promoted that way, then
they used to do a gymnastics tour. They would go on a tour around the
Yes,
country
I
when they
remember.
got back from the Olympics. I don't know if they've done that recently.
I think they're doing something, because I thought Simone Biles said they're doing a tour when they get back. So I bet it is that. I was wondering what she was talking about when she said they're going on tour.
I imagine there's our
25th anniversary plan.
This would be a sporting community where if they announced a night with the Olympic stars, men and women, that you could put. I bet you could put 10K plus in the chai.
Yeah, we love our events too, especially unique events. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would work. I'm pretty sure that's what she must have been referring to then, because I didn't know about the post Olympian tour.
I remember in the 90s.
Simone Biles is must watch too. That's the other thing. There are certain champions, and I always feel like every time we have someone that has done it for, has won multiple golds, not in just one summer or winter game, but also in multiple Olympics, and they've separated themselves from the pack, you get a chance to see them in any, whether it's a speaking engagement. I know my wife got to see Simone Biles speak at a conference once, and she was just blown away by that, just because of who Simone Biles was. But you actually get to see them compete and just do their thing right in front of your eyes. That's pretty awesome. That's why I go back to track. If I know that there's going to be, like a Noah Lyles, if there's going to be somebody that is either already a gold medalist or somebody who is on the fast track to be one of the great Olympians when it comes to track, especially in events like the 100 meter, when you can be considered one of the fastest humans ever. Yeah, that is pretty damn cool. And I would watch that. I need to know the backstory. I need to know who I'm watching. There's certain names that you recognize, like, yep, I know who that one is. But then there's other ones like, oh yeah, keep your eye on this one, because in LA, they're going to be the next best thing. Let me know about it and I'd watch.
One sport I don't watch because I'm bored, because they just dominate, U.S. women's basketball.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to win their 8th straight gold. They're efficient, but I don't know. They're not. There's nobody in the world that is coming close to our women's basketball players. Now, here comes in. I still would not have had her on the team. I probably would watch I would watch more if Caitlin Clark was playing.
I think everybody would.
But sounds weird to say, but a team that is so dominant, I think, is boring. They're not even challenged. They are.
So you're out on the NFL season?
Well, I just watch Asia Wilson.
Get challenged.
Nobody can.
No one comes close.
Yeah.
Like they don't, no one has the depth of the U.S. men's team. Like no one has the depth and the talent that the U.S. women's team have. They're just too friggin' good.
Yeah.
And at some point you just get bored. You're like, okay,
it's like a 116.
When is the gold medal match? So the world. I think the gap between women's basketball, between the U.S. and the rest of the world, is actually going the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
Like the men's side, the rest of the world is making strides.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to catch us, but they're making strides.
But they're good.
The gap on the women's side is ginormous.
Who were they playing? Was it China? Where someone was, I think it was their starting point guard was right next to Asia Wilson, and she was actually wasn't a point guard. It was like their forward, and she was one of their taller players, and she came up to Asia Wilson's hip.
Hello, little fella.
Hey, I like that though. I think because China treated the U.S. women's team like the dream team, and they were just going all out, shooting wild shots, hustling.
They're
and
going
stuff.
straight up Princeton on them.
Yeah.
Ivy League it.
All right, Steve Sipple going to join us next on 1620 The Zone. All right, our favorite Olympian, Steve Sipple, joins us now from On 3 and
Could've been
93.7 The Ticket. You've been watching the Olympics, my friend?
I was just telling somebody last night, I wish I could. I know.
Okay.
I kind of want to. It's just scheduling matters. It's just been busy, really busy.
What have you been
There's
working
a lot
on?
going on. I don't know. It's not always work. Just a lot comes up, it seems like.
Okay.
There's been travel. I don't know. It's just when it comes down to it, it's just been a time thing.
All right. You got priorities. I understand you are you're a busy man. You're a worker and somebody's got a home life as well. So
Crazy home life. There's a lot of scrambling every day, it seems like.
That's a good way to describe it. I think for everybody is you have a lot of scrambling going on.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I wish I could watch the Olympics more. I do. People tell me about it, and it sounds fabulous.
So on the heels of Teddy's injury,
Uh-huh.
your comfort level with Turner Corcoran is, and Turner and friends that may have to help him out and help Benhart out at tackle.
Oh yeah, I'd say to address your first question, Turner Corcoran definitely has value. He has started 30 games. You could call him in the college world a grizzled veteran. He probably knows a lot of tricks. He knows what to do. He knows how to handle being a college athlete. He has been, he has a pretty significant injury history. It's not a perfect picture at all. I do hear people say, "Come on, Sip, the O-line has depth." I don't know where that conversation came from. There's obviously players, but there's not a lot of, behind the starters. There's not a lot of proven backups. So I think the Prohaska injury is very significant, coupled with Turner Corcoran still. I mean, he's not 100% today. And then you have Lutovsky with a calf injury out 2 to 3 weeks, and you're not blessed with a great guard depth. Lutovsky's injury is one to really watch closely. It's a calf. There's mass. It's a spot with mass. You always worry about that a little bit. I know this. If I was a head coach, he's got something to manage right now. You always do in camp, usually. But this is a pretty significant situation, when you consider the big picture, and mainly Dylan Raiola.
You mentioned with a couple of guys there, and we've talked about this over the last couple of days at the tackle position, with the younger group that we don't know a lot about. We've heard about with Tyler Canuck, with Gunnar Gatula, with those guys that you would think are obviously going to get a lot more significant reps in preparation to the season. Is this more of a Donovan Raiola thing for you, or is this more of a Corey Campbell thing for you as far as how those guys are developed?
Both. I mean, I'm not taking the easy way out, but it's definitely both. And they might be just fine. Maybe they feel just fine about their depth. But we're not. Come on, we've been following this stuff. If it comes down to throwing a redshirt freshman out in Big Ten play out there at left tackle, that's a lot. That's a lot for a guy like Gunnar Gatula. I don't think it will come to that. I don't. I think that Corcoran ultimately will be okay. But again, you need him to stay healthy.
Right.
Okay. There's things I suppose you could do. You could move Ben Scott out to left tackle. He's played tackle in a previous life. That could happen. And then I don't know exactly. You probably move Justin Evans inside the center at that point from guard. If Lutovsky is healthy enough to play guard, there's some things you could do. I will tell you this. I think I sound a little too alarmist, and I don't want to come off that way. There's a balance here. You also don't want to gloss over this. This is
no.
It's an important situation to watch.
Yeah, and I think people have to keep in mind Bryce Benhart was healthy last year, so he made a huge jump. Corcoran is on the path to being 100%, but he's had the same offensive line coach for the previous 2 years. So there are just things, it's more on him than I think of the group of helping him along. You brought up Dylan. You brought up Dylan. So give me, since the last time we talked, Dylan has talked to us, and we've seen him in a practice. Give me a new observation that you did not have, but now in the fall, you've heard him speak about things and answer questions, and then you've seen him run a practice. What's a new observation that you have about him?
Well, I was at a speaking event in Fort Calhoun, and a lot of people listen to 1620 in Fort Calhoun. I will tell you
Shout
that.
out. No, we love that power plant up there.
Great fish fry,
so
too.
I did not see the practice. It was Saturday. It was a Saturday night event.
Well, they must have paid you pretty well.
They did.
Yeah. And anyway, as far as new information on Dylan, the only thing that comes to mind, it's not necessarily new information. It's something that I have to remind myself of. I was struck by just how young he looked at the podium. And I got to remind myself sometimes. He has a baby face. He's just right out of high school, and that's the franchise. I mean, it's really interesting. He comports himself so well that it's really easy to forget he's young, and he's so dialed in the right ways, and his priorities are so good. And it's not always that. That's not always the case. I've covered that team for 25 years, 30 years. I wouldn't say that about every guy that comes down the pipe, but I would say it about Dylan. He's got short range goals that make sense. He's got long range goals that really make sense. I mean, he wants to play in the NFL. He wants to be an NFL quarterback. He's doing everything he can to do that. And in the meantime, he is all about, he takes this personally, this notion of helping Nebraska as a program turn around. And yeah, that's all good. Those are intangibles that are beautiful. But he also has these tangible elements that are so appealing. I mean, a big arm, understands the game at a super high level. 6'3", 220, or maybe, and he looks great, by the way. Maybe Gary, that would be the thing that maybe stood out to me. That would be the new information. God, he looks good physically, better physically than he did in Hawaii. They've done a great job of getting him exactly where he needs to be in terms of body structure.
This is a question and you just mentioned how he carries himself compared to how he looks. When we hear young guys, I remember this with Adrian, and then I also remember even when Gabe Ervin was a freshman, and I'm listening to him talk, and you can't help but to not be impressed with 18-year-olds to have perspective and to be able to articulate a lot of those thoughts that even a 45-year-old like myself has a tough time doing. I try not to read too much into it, Sip, but when it does come from the quarterback, when you do hear their perspective, there was one answer that he gave about the fine line. I talked to Sam about this earlier in the week too, about the fine line of, taking the risk as opposed to making more of the safe play, but, knowing that you have the arm talent. And I liked his answer to that. I think it was honest. It wasn't a cliche type of thing. Is it okay to listen to an 18-year-old speak in a more of a mature manner, especially at the quarterback position, and think that there's that mental approach that gives you a little more confidence compared to other young players that, I don't want to say don't necessarily talk at that mature level, but you think that there is something there at that, especially at that position with the type of mental stress that you're going to go through, the type of mental toll that position can take.
Yeah, you're evaluating a lot of different things, and including how the quarterback, acts at a podium. I mean, now how much does it mean? You don't want to go too far.
Right.
Yeah, it's meaningful to a point, only to a point, and because you know probably what I'm going to say next. I've seen plenty of guys handle a podium session really well than don't play well.
Mhm.
You know, we've all seen that. Some guys are really good in that setting, and you think, oh my God, he's so well spoken, he has it so
Right.
together, he must be a great player. Now, sometimes, a lot of the time they are, but sometimes they're not. But you just write it off as meaningless? No, there's meaning there. You can see and hear maturity. He has right answers that suggest his mind is in the right place. Adrian was the same way. I'm glad you mentioned Adrian. Adrian was incredible at the podium.
Yeah.
Incredible even as a freshman. Like, I always thought, oh, he'll be running he'll be at the head table of the boardroom someday. I mean, Adrian was really good that way. And so is Dylan. So we'll see what that means. But I know he knows the game really well. I think he'll make really good decisions on the football field. It's not like we don't have any evidence. We've seen him in high school. I saw him in Hawaii. Had a kind of a rough first half. I think he kind of had this kind of broad view of that game, and he knew the second half would be better. And that's the way I think he thinks things through really well.
Mm-hmm.
All the running backs stay healthy.
Uh-huh.
Who leads Nebraska in carries this year?
I think Emmett Johnson. I think Emmett Johnson. And then I think the one I'm really intrigued by right now, and the fact that he was running with the ones so much only added to my intrigue, is Ramir. He's a man. He's super fast, and he's proven he can play. He's interesting to me because he's not that big, but he runs with a lot of abandon and toughness. He can run in the Big Ten. I mean, I'd kind of compare him to Donovan Edwards a little bit. Donovan Edwards he's not a pounding back like Quorum was at Michigan, but tough, but still tough. And that's the way Ramir is. Super fast, explosive. They might need a little bit of that. If the offensive line is if it's still, okay, the big plays become even more important, and Ramir gives you that. So, but I do think Emmett Johnson right now would be the guy that leads them in carries.
I'd agree with that.
Sip, the situation when it comes to kicking mainly and punting too, how much leeway do you give a Brian Buschini this year before you have to start going a different direction?
Well, the only way to answer that is I can't answer it unless I know how number 2 is.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how number 2 is. I mean, Camden Cook probably has a little ways to go, based on what I've heard. So, I mean, that your question is almost entirely dependent on that. Buschini, I think with Buschini, he's a grown man. I think he probably recognizes kind of the gravity of the situation, that they need him bad. They need him to have a good year. And I just am confident that he'll respond. I mean, I get it. Not everybody does, but I think this place has been important to him. He took Brooke Behringer's number.
Yeah.
I just think in this situation, it's kind of like with Turner Corcoran too. Those are grown men who recognize the gravity of the situation. And I just, this is really getting deep, but my faith in humanity dictates
that went deep,
that they'll respond. They'll respond the way they should respond.
Well, I will say both for those guys. I think you're right, because there are veterans on this team that all they talk about is they just want to win. Okay, they haven't won.
Yeah.
But there's also some guys that this is like a legacy year that came here with high hopes, especially Turner Corcoran. He's one of the top 10 highest recruited players ever by Nebraska, and it hasn't worked out. I think there is some of that element of this is it, and I'm going to give it my all. So
100%.
Yeah, and there are more than the 2 we just mentioned on this roster. They've got a handful of guys that this is kind of the boom or bust legacy last dance for them, and you don't know how they react. Let's stick with special teams. What's your read? What are you hearing on if Tristan Alvano will be back here within the next couple of weeks?
Oh, I think he will be back. That's what I've heard. I'm not terribly worried about that situation. Not terribly worried. It's just you got to monitor it and manage it if you're the Ed Foley's of the world and Matt Rule. But I've heard Alvano will be back. I mean, he can already kick field goals. It just can't kick off. But I think we'll see. But I think he'll be back.
Yeah, I feel your scholarship kicker is not with the 120, but yet I feel better about their place kicking than I do with their punting. And that's because
really?
because I like the two guys that were kicking. I think you know what? This is a thing that is a credit to Rule, Sip, is you don't just finish spring ball, go through portal season and go, our roster's good. He has had 3 kind of interesting pickups in the offseason that are not, and there are a couple of guys that are on scholarship, but I'm looking at, and I guess he's on scholarship, Nelson, who maybe down the road will help them in the running game. I mean, he flashed a little bit Saturday night.
Yeah, he can play. He can play.
He may have in the offseason picked up his backup quarterback and getting John Hull.
Oh yeah.
You know, I mean, you had no idea that John Hull would be with Nebraska. And he's a guy that I think looked really comfortable kicking, that if Alvano can't do certain elements, I don't all of a sudden go, oh my gosh, Nebraska's in trouble. But I think part of the special teams discussion, but part of the continuing to add to the roster is a subtle strength of Rule of always be closing, but never close it.
Oh God, I couldn't agree more. I mean, really, that was a really well done commentary. I mean that. Those guys are all crucial. And and you can do this in college football, I think, a little easier now, is make those additions. And they're all really important. The place kicking thing is fascinating to me. And I always guard against reading into too much of what I hear in camp. And like from this standpoint, somebody will come to me and say, yeah, it looks really good coming off of Hull's foot. Sounds good. Yeah, okay, that's great. All right, he's a Division I kicker. It better sound pretty good. Okay, I don't even really care what it looks like in August at this point. I care what it looks like in late October when you're trailing a Big Ten team by 2 and you need to kick late. That's all that matters to me. Because and then let's just face it feels like every field goal nowadays is big. Okay. So how does that kid respond to pressure is what I'm really interested in. And I don't know how you measure it until he's in it.
Yep.
Because every field goal, think about it. Every field goal these days feels really big. Mm-hmm. That's way different than it used to be. At Nebraska, there was a time when it didn't. You're like, okay, they're kicking a field goal. That's too bad. They didn't score. Now it's God. They need these 3 bad, baby. Yep. They need these 3 bad.
Yeah. Sip, we appreciate it as always. Have a great weekend, and 3 weeks from Saturday, we'll see you in the press box.
Yeah, it's fun time.
It is great. Awesome. It is awesome. Thanks, Sip.
All right. Thanks, Sip.
The part about the field goals too. How many times have we done this really the last probably 10 years, but as of late, even early in a game where maybe it's Nebraska that has the first opportunity to score, or maybe it's a 3-0 game, first quarter, early second quarter, and you miss, and you immediately say, "Uh-oh, that could be huge," or a missed PAT. That could be huge. He's right, because a lot of the scoring part of it we took for granted, and then when there's a missed field goal, especially inside of 45 yards, he chalked it up as an aberration. It was like, oh, okay, that's not who they are. Now it's, okay, do we have a problem here? Is that going to lead to more? Is that going to compound? And I hate that feeling, both as a fan of a team, but also as someone who just, I think you appreciate like natural human struggle and the mental part of that, of what that does now when there's already this narrative about how important it is. Is the kicker or the punter in this case too, when we're talking about Bichini, are they also experiencing that, or is that just us? Is that just us that has that conversation and we make more out of it than when they go back to the sideline? They're just like, yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, it changes your play calling.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, if you are in a situation where you're not in the red, even if you are in the red zone, but let's say you're 25, 30-yard line and you have faith in a place kicker that consistently can get it there in the 40 to 49 range.
Right.
It does change your play calling. You know, don't take a sack. Don't take us out of field goal range.
Mm-hmm.
The punting thing, you know, they have a scrimmage upcoming, so maybe we'll get word of improvements.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about the place kicking situation. All right, quick break. We'll come back. Brian Edwards still to come. Plus, somebody just got 89. It's not good. Somebody got 89. Just happened while we were talking to a sip. We'll explain that to you when we return on 1620 The Zone. They've made a change on the South Side. Stand up, Southsiders. In Chicago, Pedro Grifol has been fired as the manager of the Chicago White Sox.
Gee, what did it?
Nice organization. At least they let him get a victory.
Yeah.
And then they lost yesterday. So
they would have won yesterday. Does he keep his job for another day?
Probably.
Yeah.
But at 28-89, Pedro Grifol is out.
So who's the
as the
poor
manager.
bastard that takes over now?
I'm sure Ozzie Guillen would try and get in there.
Mm-hmm.
Gene Lamont, is he still alive? 93 AOS champions.
I don't know if
He's
he
pretty
is.
old then.
Tony's jersey's probably still fresh.
When Robin Ventura was the manager of the White Sox?
Yeah,
I
sure
remember
do.
when he tried to fight Nolan Ryan. I was there.
Robin Ventura's a misunderstood guy. Very, very nice guy when he was on the College World Series broadcast. Tony's not quite 80 yet. Let's just bring him back, finish her out.
He's still in the organization.
Yep, there you go. Would that be a total Jerry Reinsdorf thing too? Like, hey, you know what? Just why don't you go in the clubhouse?
Why don't they
finish
hire
this thing
Steve
off?
Stone?
That or Tim Floyd.
Oh, Steve Stone.
Steve Stone from the press box all the way down to the dugout. It's
Like
happened
Larry
before.
Durker?
That'd be so awesome.
Do it. I might actually stop saying bad things about them and root for them.
I don't know if this helps my bet of 100 losses
Yeah.
before 30 wins because there's always the new coach bump.
Yes.
They play the Cubs this weekend.
Oh, no.
Oh, that'll get your blood boiling too when you got the old rivalry. Ooh.
Ironic that a lot of and there, you know what? There is sunshine on the horizon for Pedro Grifol because I'm looking at the players that the White Sox traded at the trade deadline. They all seem to be playing pretty well.
Yeah.
Jimenez looks like a different hitter.
Mm-hmm.
He was miserable in Chicago, but Pedro Grifol is out. Wonder what that conversation was like.
It's the.
Do you think
Pedro, go ahead and sit down? No, I'd rather not.
Do you think Grifol went thank you, or did he like try and campaign? He goes, "Hey, I know I'm 100 games under 500 as a manager, and I haven't been here very long. But have you seen our high A team?"
But he pulls the old. There's 2 or 3 potential all-stars in there.
He still gets paid, right?
I think
Because he
we're-
could do the Doug Moe where he shows up with a bottle of champagne and says, "So do I have to come and pick up the checks, or
I
do you
think
guys
we're a
mail them to me?"
contender right now.
Man,
I don't think you're lobbying at all there. I think you're saying, you know what? I know what this is about. Thank you for the opportunity.
Whew.
Sorry, I was on LinkedIn during the game.
He was one of the hot. He was one of the hot coaches because he was on the Royals staff, and yeah,
Still time to go back. It's a good team.
yeah, I don't know. Would they?
You don't want to bring that stink back into the. I mean, I'm not saying this is all Pedro
What?
Grifol.
They liked him.
but you don't want to bring that South Side stank into a organization right now that is on the come.
What if the Royals need to beat the White Sox in September? Wouldn't it be nice to have someone on the
No.
inside that could tell you their secrets about how they're
because
bad?
they'll lose because Pedro Grifol is part of too many White Sox losses that he'll bring those losses over to Kansas
Get a lead.
City.
Don't worry, they'll blow it in the ninth.
It's one thing to say, all right, well, we're going to bring him over for inside knowledge, but the amount of wins this year would not give me confidence that what he has to say about any type of ultimate breakdown would probably pay dividends for any scouting report right now on his
You
own team.
boys know you could have asked Tim Kirkjian about this, and he might have broken it for you.
I don't know. This seems like this was a surprise to a lot of people.
I think this was just a matter of when. I still think there's the argument to be made of, well, let's let you go ahead and sit out this mess. Because, I mean, honestly, what does this really do other than give you a jump start on trying to find your next manager?
88-190 will be his final record with the White Sox. That would be
Wow, they won 88 games?
They did. People forget they won 61 last year.
Well, I remember the first game they won.
Unfortunately, they lost another 40 above the 61. See, here's the thing in baseball. Everybody is at some point going to be 60. You're going to start the year, you're going to be 60 and 60.
I like
It's what do you do with those other 42 games?
Yeah.
Now, this does not apply to the current White Sox team because they are 28 and 89.
Yeah, there's always an exception to that. Not always. Most times.
Some teams start
Sometimes.
2 and 2. It's
But
what you do with
everybody
the other.
everybody is 60 and 60, and what do you do with those other 42 games? The White Sox have we punted. We punted in the first 42 of the season.
Do you think the series this weekend had anything to do with it? That they just they got to save some face. They got to at least give their White Sox fans, knowing that they're going to play their crosstown rival.
Our broadcaster should go before the manager.
They needed to at least give their White Sox fans some definitive hope that, we obviously aren't bringing him back, and we're going to go ahead and do that. And because you're right. You sometimes do get the new manager, the reinvigorated feel of,
Phil Garner, the 04
somebody
Astros.
else. We got the change, even though it's someone that's already been in the clubhouse the entire time. Now he's making the lineup card.
Jack McKeon.
They will announce their replacement for next year before the end of the 24 season.
Before
there
the
you
end
go.
of the show.
So if you had stock on when Pedro Gaffol would be out, he is out this morning. U.S. Let's see. I'm trying to see.
The governor's not in yet.
Got no score graphic.
So the USA women's volleyball team playing right now.
It's like the old days, no score.
Yeah, they're playing Brazil. But 3 Huskers are on the U.S. women's roster. Jordan Larson is not out there. Justine?
Yes, she's
there she is. All right, so they have 1 Husker on the floor right now. We'll keep you updated on that. That just started. Where is the score bug?
It's disappeared.
There's no score bug for this.
This is a throwback to the 88 Olympics?
They were too busy working on the celebrity graphic.
They're in the first set. Yeah, U.S. leads Brazil 8-3 in the semi.
Why do we not have a constant score bug here?
Just leave that up.
That's kind of disappointing. Real quickly too, I know there's the Snoop fatigue that some people I've seen experiencing during the Olympics. Does anybody else have the Steve Kornacki fatigue? My God, having him break down the medal count and where the United
khakis.
States can. No, he actually had gray pants on last night, so he got away from the khakis. But talk about somebody who has milked that 2020 election into just everything now, and NBC just uses him like crazy. I'm over that. It's the Kornacki thing was cute shortly after the election. Here we're in 2024, and he's breaking down the medal count and telling you about how the U.S. path to the outdo China and the golds and the events that they have left, and you can't read his writing and everything. Like, I didn't even realize that was still a thing. Yet I had to be exposed to that last night.
Oh, you haven't watched the Kentucky Derby?
Yes.
Yeah, he's all over the Kentucky Derby coverage.
Oh, he's all over everything now.
He'll be number 2 crew on the NBC.
He appears on NFL Sunday Night Football too.
Yes, he does. It's just I'm over it. I'm so over it right now.
Next Tom Brokaw.
Good Lord. Some people though are there able to milk that off, I guess.
All right, still some time for Brian Edwards coming up here in about 40 minutes. 16:20 The Zone. I do want to mention in our local sports community, a gentleman who, if you are a little bit of the older set, TV back in the 70s, Channel 3, the Tom Osborne Show, Jim Kelter, sportscaster at Channel 3. And then Jim has done a lot of internet radio, high school sports for a long time around here, passed away yesterday. And there were a lot of people that knew Jim. We knew Jim.
Yeah.
He's longtime sports voice, but he was one of those grinders, like a close friend of mine who passed a few years ago, Tom Corator. So there was Tom Corator, Jim Kelter, and Howard Borden, all would be involved in the high school community and selling and doing games. And, I got to know Jim when I was living in Lincoln because he was doing Mr. Basketball.
Mhm.
And so Tom introduced me, and, I didn't know about his time in the 70s, of course, not being around. But Jim had some health issues, but he was a bartender. Last time I saw him, he was tending bar.
Yeah.
But he'd had some health issues and passed away yesterday. I would say one of the coolest things he did, doing high school games, he would do internet games. He had a lot of radio equipment, and before he entered hospice, before things got really, really bad, he donated his radio equipment to some young broadcasters.
That's great.
So he'd spent some money, relatively new radio equipment, sports broadcasting equipment. And so he donated them, which I thought was pretty cool. That was the kind of person Jim was. So thoughts and prayers with his family. I know a lot of people in the community remember Jim, have interacted with Jim, and that was tough news to hear yesterday.
Yeah, not surprised to hear about that as far as donating his radio equipment, because like a lot of, you mentioned Tom Corator, that's the guy that I was brought up with doing high school football, and that was obviously a very tough loss for a lot of us. But in the exact same way that Tom didn't matter who you were, if he knew that you were young and you wanted some type of experience, that he was always willing to open that door for you within his broadcast in the high school scene. And it was the same thing with Jim. And the last time I had seen Jim was, I think it was 2 College World Series ago, that he just came up to a broadcast and said hi, and we just picked up from where we left off. And he's another guy that you think about, people that when you first started out in this business, and I think you always remember the great relationships. You remember the people that were always fair to you, because there's a lot of people that, and I understand it, that maybe don't have the time, and so they don't necessarily give you as much time, but there's others that understand how impactful that can be when you have somebody that is willing to take you under their wing a little bit, or at least give you an opportunity or two. And then it's essentially up to you to do something with that. And I think all of us know someone like that in every walk of life, not just in broadcasting, but Jim's definitely one of those guys for me too. And so when I was texting back and forth with Jeff Moats, who I know is also extremely close to Jim, Jeff and I were, he was keeping me up to date on that. That was obviously very, very upsetting to hear. And, and then of course I immediately went back to, not that long ago when we lost Tom Corator as well. So, 2 guys that, you're right, as far as grinding, there was never a high school game that was out of their purview as far as doing and putting on for any community, whether it's Omaha or anywhere else.
This is not a community that high school football on the radio is a popular thing, like
in Columbus, or
like even in Lincoln.
Yeah. Very true.
But Howard and Tom and Jim and a few other guys, they went out and sold, and they put the games on, and might not have been the greatest broadcast, but they loved doing it, and it was great for the people that were playing because they got to hear their names on the radio. And those are guys that cared about their craft and cared about the people that were broadcasting. So again, our thoughts and prayers out to the Kelter family. Brian Edwards is going to join us before the hour is over. We'll get to him. He's got thoughts on win totals. If you like futures, you like setting your money on fire, Brian Edwards is the man for you. I also got to ask him, who in the heck was in charge of their non-conference schedule?
Oh, Florida's.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's not just Miami.
Going back to Missouri.
Not just Miami.
Well, yeah, because they got Florida's got Florida State, right?
They got Florida State. They always play Florida State.
Yep. And then Miami, and then who else am I missing in their non-con? They gotta have a cakewalk in there.
No, they don't.
They don't have the home late November.
Who is that? They may.
They've got to have one. I got to look.
Samford fills that role.
Oh, okay.
But they play UCF.
Oh, that's right. Okay. That's right. Yeah.
They're a central non-con. Take out Samford. They have Miami, UCF, and Florida State. Who in the heck is doing that non-con schedule?
Well, that's what we said.
That is an AD that is setting up their head coach for failure.
We said if you could get to 6 wins on that schedule, that it kind of becomes a gray area with Napier. So below 6, he gone. 6, you could maybe justify one way or the other. 7, he's safe. That would make sense with that non-conference schedule. I totally forgot about the Central Florida game too.
All right. Are the Olympics killing Nebraska football? Discuss amongst yourselves. We will when we return on 1620 The Zone.
Hey, fall's just around the corner, and 1620 The Zone is giving you the chance to win season passes to Nebraska's favorite fall attraction, Vala's Pumpkin Patch. You can win 2024 season passes to Vala's and enjoy all the fall family fun that Vala's has to offer. Enter to win right now at 1620thezone.com.
Possible record lows tonight. Record's 49. They're forecasting 52.
Real?
Mm-hmm.
I got to respond to some clown on
76 tomorrow for the high. So anything you want to do outside, you can do it, including today.
Wait, you're responding to a clown? It's more Colorado
Bozo
highlight?
About ready to tell a guy to touch grass.
Touch grass.
I usually don't
Kick
respond to
some
people
sand.
that don't have anything in their avatar.
Yep.
Yeah.
They have a bunch of numbers on their name?
No, they do not. You know who are absolute rock stars? Nebraska volleyball about to begin their run towards the national championship. Have you guys seen the Dix commercial that includes Patrick Mahomes and Candace Parker?
I believe so, yes. No, actually, no. I'm thinking of something completely different, not the Dix commercial.
So when you watch it, there is a cameo from the rock stars that play in the Devaney Center.
Oh.
And I just noticed here, because we have the volleyball coverage on in the studio, hello, Scooters. So there's a commercial with Andy Jackson, Merritt Beeson, Bergen Riley, Lexi Rodriguez, and John Cook for Scooters.
Scooters.
The rock stars that play at the Devaney Center. Are they a bigger act at the Devaney Center than Garth Brooks was when he played there multiple nights back in the late 90s?
I was going to
yes.
say, that wasn't recent.
Maybe not as big as he was, though, at the back-to-back nights that he played at the Civic Auditorium, because that was a really, really big deal. Yours truly was at show number 2.
Puts on a hell of a show.
But he never went and played hockey somewhere. When he was in Lincoln performing, he went to the Icebox with his buddies, and they played late-night hockey.
Really?
Yeah. He's a big hockey guy. So he would do that when he was a little bit younger, touring around the country. They would go and play hockey because they were in Nashville. And It was just when he was in Omaha, or when he was in Lincoln, and I think he did like 4 or 5 shows. This was his first time in Lincoln, not as an athlete, because he did perform as a pole vaulter at Oklahoma State at Edward Track.
Damn, I didn't know that.
But so he played in the late 90s. It was right as the start of the Predators in Nashville.
Yeah. Well, and you forget, too, that he was with the Mets as well.
That's a hell of a nugget.
So they came over to the Icebox.
Yeah.
They let everybody know, hey, don't say anything. But at about 1 a.m, Garth Brooks' whole crew is going to come here and play hockey. And if you want to be here, don't tell anybody.
Yeah.
And boom, they rolled in, and Garth was awesome.
Did you go?
Yeah.
So did they play like a full hockey game? I mean, anybody in his crew, they could all skate and do that?
Pickup hockey.
Okay.
The Stars gave them pads and skates and sticks and stuff.
That's awesome, though.
Yeah.
Garth Brooks, now, I remember even when he was trying to play a little infield, it didn't strike me as a guy that would be a hockey guy. Didn't seem like he's got the hockey bod even before life has happened.
Hockey hotbed of Oklahoma.
That is, that is one thing about Garth Brooks. I know he's dabbled in sports. I know he's a big sports fan. Would not peg him for the hockey type.
Former New York Met.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so we got the Olympics on, and the Olympics have the rest of the week, and then the weekend, then they have the closing ceremonies, and then we go straight to Los Angeles with no break. They're just going to go straight into the 28 Olympics.
We're going to skip 4 years?
Yes, we're going to do that.
We're jumping ahead.
But
where will Nebraska be at that
Olympics
point?
coverage is everywhere. Preseason football is starting to pick up. College football gets going in a couple of weeks. I keep going back to something Jack Mitchell said the other day about hype. And I don't know if it's because it's still early in camp, or maybe we're believe it when I see it. But has the Olympics subdued the attention towards Nebraska football? I feel like Nebraska football attention, and we talk about it, I would say 90% of the time in the month of August before we get to the start of the season, actually does seem subdued.
It does, but I don't know.
Even though you've had more access to watch and talk to players and coaches, to me it seems subdued. It may be the Olympics, and then Monday it'll be full on blown. I'll be fully hussed, and we'll be able to open the door without my hand.
Is it subdued because we do get so much access? That was good, by the way.
Don't pole vault.
No. Is it subdued because we do get so much access now?
I don't know. I think it's two factors. I do think it's the Olympics.
Okay.
And because there's a lot of people that are watching the Olympics,
Yeah.
and then I also think it's a little bit of wait and see.
I would say it's more wait and see, and the fact that we do get a lot of access. I think part of Matt Rule doing as many hits as he does throughout the country, but also, now mind you, the 1890 thing was, I don't know if that was necessarily Matt Rule's idea, but he agreed to it. But remember when we said, so he spoke at Big Ten Media Days, and then he had the pre-fall camp press conference the following Tuesday. And we were discussing what's he really going to say that he didn't last Wednesday? There's just a lot of access. I do feel when there's not as much being said around camp, and there's not as much coaches interviews and player interviews that this staff does a pretty good job of, that I do think it creates a little bit more of that. Okay, what are we missing? What's going on? I need my fix a little bit. So I do think that they give more than enough access to where maybe it does tamp it down, because you're starting to take a little bit of that for granted. I don't know. I guess I'm not convinced it's the Olympics, because I feel like the last time around now that was different. I mean, that Olympic itself was a lot different because you didn't have really any fans. I feel like there was still the hype train going. There was still we need the content. We need the Nebraska football content. But I do think a lot of it is the wait and see. I think at this part of the season where we've allowed ourselves to get enthralled by what is going on and what the season could be, and we've been hurt by that, I think that has a little bit to do with it. But I do think,
a little bit different. Last time you did not have as much access to the Olympics last time.
Yes. That's a good point.
They're everywhere now.
Yeah. So Snoop. But yeah.
By the way, 24-23, U.S. leads Brazil.
This looks like a wild atmosphere, by the way.
It does look a great atmosphere. Snoop Dogg, did you want to, you crushed Steve Kornacki earlier.
Yeah, I did.
You want to crush Snoop Dogg?
I'm over it. Yeah, I'm totally over it.
So you're not going to sign this petition?
I don't know. I never thought I'd ever get over Snoop.
Clarify
but I am.
this. What does that mean? Well, I'm over Snoop.
I'm over the Snoop presence. I'm over Snoop doing the highlights with Mike Tirico.
You know what? No.
You've gone full dad.
No, I am.
No.
It was funny at first. Now I'm like, really? We're still doing this?
Jimmy's brother over there. Here's the thing with Snoop Dogg. Yeah, he can get paid $500K a day to be on NBC.
Hey, I'm not out on Snoop.
There is, you cannot look at Snoop Dogg and not laugh and be in a bad mood.
Well, no, you can't.
Yeah, you watch him.
Even me.
You watch him, you laugh, and you are in a good mood when you see Snoop Dogg. It's one of the things about the Great American Way is that Snoop Dogg and Martha Stewart, by the way, hooked up, and that their images have changed.
Yeah.
Like it used to be 15 years ago. I mean, both of them, Martha Stewart went in the clink.
Yeah, she did her time.
She's actually done better. I mean, if you want to rehab your image
Her
and
street
maybe
cred.
help,
oh, yeah.
go to jail.
Yep.
Go to jail, get out, boom, you're set. You can still vote, can't you? Yeah, you just need an ID.
Look at Scotty Scheffler.
But Snoop and Martha together is like, whoa. I said this the other day. Can you imagine 20 years ago, you go into a coma and you wake up
Yeah.
and you see Snoop doing what Snoop's doing? You're like, whoa, what happened to that guy 20 years ago?
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. Snoop's in the Monday Night Football
But
broadcast.
Snoop is a guy that you look at and you're like in a good mood. I would wake up every morning next to Snoop if that meant I was going to be in a good mood.
As someone who's pissy most days, and especially at night, I agree with him. I'm always in a great mood after seeing Snoop.
This isn't anything to do with being in a good mood or not. I'm just him doing the back and forth with Mike Tirico. It's just awkward at times, and then the highlights. It's just, I don't know.
What do you want him to do? Do a Brian Kelly Louisiana accent?
I don't know if we need Snoop anymore with the Olympic coverage. No, we need Snoop in general, because I'm not completely disagreeing with
this is not good for my
the
depression.
overall Snoop presence, but I've had a lot of Snoop. I've consumed a lot of Snoop this last week. I'm over it. I'm over Snoop doing the highlights. And then Mike Tirico tried. I'll give him a lot of credit. Tirico does his best to keep up. You can tell, though, at times he's like, it gets sort of awkward when he's not in on the joke or in on the slang a little bit. So, yeah, I think it's ran its course.
Whoa.
I strongly feel like it's ran its course.
Snoop Dogg. Make that a poll
Not
question,
Snoop
Jimmy.
Dogg in general. Snoop at the Olympics. Snoop,
what was the question?
Snoop at the Olympics has run its course.
I got a thing for you, Nick.
Yeah.
It's going to run his course in a couple of days, and it'll be over.
Yeah, I know. I'm holding on.
Kornacki might still be there for you, but Snoop will go back to Snoop.
Yeah, Snoop,
whatever he wants to do.
Snoop will just do Snoop stuff, and that's great.
He's involved in the Puppy Bowl.
I have to avoid NBC at all costs with Kornacki. I mean, hey, what can we use him for now? Jesus.
Good thing we air Sunday Night Football right here on the Zone.
The dude just talks about numbers. That's all he does.
So did math teachers. I just ignored
But
them.
isn't that what he's supposed to do?
Yeah, but why do we always need it? These are things that anymore, they're not even relevant to the conversation anymore. It's like, well, how can we bring Steve Kornacki into this discussion? Let's see. We need a numbers breakdown. You got Twitter. Look at that. That'll tell you all you need to know about
I
those
ruined
numbers.
Nick Handley. I'm sorry, Gary.
No,
Wow.
I see an event long enough like the Olympics. There are certain things that just kind of get at you. But see, the Kornacki thing is not just Olympics. When they have busted him out now a few different times and the things that he is breaking down, I'm asking myself, is this necessary? Or are we using something that had some type of popularity at one point and now we're just cramming it down your throat? That's the Kornacki thing.
I say that every Saturday on ESPN during the fall.
The Snoop thing is just, I've just seen a lot of Snoop this week, a lot more Snoop than I have in a consistent basis in a very long time. That's a different conversation, the Kornacki thing that continues to be a thing, and I don't even know why it's a thing.
What if Snoop believed in AM radio in the car?
I'm sure he does. And this doesn't, guys, you're twisted and making it sound like I'm not a supporter of Snoop. I'm a supporter of Snoop. I'm just over the Olympic thing. That's all. Closing ceremonies, I'm sure there'll be a big blowout. It'll be all good. I'll be back to listening a little of the Chronic and listening a little Doggy Style, and I'll be happy.
Two great things.
I haven't eliminated any of his tracks. The album. I haven't eliminated any of his tracks on any of my playlists. In case you're wondering, it hasn't gone that far. I'm over it. I'm good.
I'm here for Snoop tonight.
I don't feel like it's a crime.
He needs his own hour.
I don't feel like it's a crime. Just saying. Probably have some of Snoop's wine maybe at some point. No, I don't really drink that wine. I don't really drink wine, period.
It's good for your heart.
You're just letting me talk myself into something here, aren't you?
You lost me here because whenever I see Snoop, I'm going to drop it like it's hot because I like when he's young, wild, and free. And I'm wondering what is going to be the next episode about the Olympics. And then I'm like, oh my God, that is so great. I just had a sexual eruption. And then when I look at him, like he's in situations where he's like, I don't know what to say. I get a sweat. So I tell my TV, I say, Snoop, just let it roll. And he says, bitch, please. And I said, hey, man, that's a bad decision because I don't say that in front of the kids. And he said, you know what? Let's get together in Lincoln, Omaha, whatever. Let's have a winter wonderland.
Thank you for the new promo. I'll go cut that.
So while I was ranting about Snoop, you were compiling all the lyrics. That was very.
You know
well
what
done.
I was doing
Very
while
well
you were
done.
crushing Snoop, and I was like, man, without on the street, is Nick going to have to go for deep cover? I was laying low over here because I'm like, man, I'm going to have to come hard because I'm pop, and I'm going to have to remind him I'm a big fan of Snoop. I'm just going to have to say, who am I?
What's my what name?
And then I drop into from the D2 to the LBC. All right. And then as we all sit back and we reminisce about this conversation, drinking a little gin and juice while we're driving on Mulholland Drive. Yep. That's my Snoop.
You did not quote one lyric, though, from Snoop Lion.
I did not. But
nothing from the good.
My family, you ain't no fun. But I'm going to live the boss life over here with a big subwoofer in the back. And I just want to thank me for what I just did to you because Papa Doc, bam! You have to admit what I just did is very underrated. And if you know, you know, you're going to do a little French inhale right now.
Sadly, I do know.
This was a beautiful conversation.
You're welcome.
Yes.
All it took was my Snoop fatigue to set this up.
This will be on the radio replay.
I'm taking a major assist on this one. You did what I expected you to do on that, but I'm taking a major assist on that one. You got anything else you want to add?
No,
Can we cross into maybe some Dre?
No, well, this is about Snoop.
It is about Snoop.
Dre is not at the Olympics. We're talking about Snoop.
What about 28? Are we getting a little Dre? I mean, we did have our LA Super Bowl where we did have, and I believe this song was part of the performance.
Here's the thing, Nick. I used to think you're a nice dude with some nice dreams. Now I'm going to send you some ice cubes because I want to see them ice creams. I know you're married, but after your wife hears this, you're going to be an eligible bachelor with $1 million boat that's wider than what's spitting down your throat.
Smooth, man.
Yeah.
G sharp.
All right. Brian Edwards coming up next. G's to the Bizac. Now, ladies, here we gizzo on 1620 The Zone. All right, time to talk to our money man, Brian Edwards, the senior handicapper at VegasInsider.com, diehard Florida fan. And if anybody is in the Destin, Florida area, he would love for you to stop by. He joins us now. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are we?
Good. Hey, before we jump into some college win totals and South Carolina to start, I'm throwing this at you, so I don't expect you on the fly to have numbers and stuff. But let's say IU gets traded from San Francisco to the Steelers. Will there be any impact, you think, on win totals?
Win total, maybe not, but I believe they were plus 900 to win the division. I could see that being adjusted to plus 850 or plus 800. Some slight movement, but I don't know that it would affect the win total. Maybe 10 cents on the juice or 20 cents on the juice, perhaps.
I probably should have asked you about division totals. So you think it would have a much more of an impact on the Niners than it would on the Steelers odds?
Probably. But similarly, I don't know that it would move the win total by a half game.
Mm-hmm.
Probably just maybe affect the juice on a win total by 10 or 20 cents, or maybe the division odds, I mentioned what Steelers were plus 900, may move to plus 850 or 800. San Fran's probably minus north of 200 to win their division. Probably.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that would adjust down 10, 20 cents or on 30 cents maybe. But I don't. Yeah, nothing huge.
Okay. All right, let's go to Columbia, South Carolina. So Shane Beamer takes over at USC, and for anybody that's been to a game there, Bryce Williams Stadium is a fun place. They put on a great show. They got the cabooses. They've had their moments of being good, whether it be when Spurrier was there, even Lou Holtz was there. But Beamer goes there. They have a lot of excitement, but now they're in a weird spot because the league has gotten better. They've added Texas and Oklahoma. South Carolina is like, okay, where are we going? I look at their schedule this year, and I know that they have a low win total. Man, that schedule is not only hard, that is a brutal schedule for South Carolina trying to even get bowl eligible.
I agree. Look, Beamer overachieved in year one, and then year two ended, with such a bang. You smashed Tennessee, which at the time controlled its destiny to get to the CFP, and you smashed them, and then you rally from, I think they were down 9, and you beat Clemson as a 14-point dog. In the Tennessee game, they were a 22-point dog. That was Tennessee number 5, Clemson number 7. And then they had that great game with Notre Dame, which they ended up losing, but just a fantastic, bowl game. So there was a lot of momentum going into last year, but I was concerned they lost 3 of their best players. Jordan Burks, the DN, went to Oregon. Marshawn Lloyd went to USC, and the tight end went to FSU, Jaheim Bell. And so I was concerned about that. And then, last year was just a massive disappointment. Now, Bill Steele's very high on them in terms of his unit rankings. And they've got 7 starters back on offense and 8 on defense, but they were minus 391 in net yardage last year. And they went 2-1 in one possession game. I mean, they got beat pretty good. 5 of their 7 L's were by double digits. 6 of them were by 9 points or more. And like you said, their schedule's tough, man. I got them losing at Kentucky. I mean, they could possibly beat LSU at home, but at last look at DraftKings, they were like a 9.5 or 10-point dog in that game. I've got them losing that one. I have them winning the opener against ODU and beating Akron at home, but then I've got them losing their next 3 after Akron. That's Ole Miss at home, at Bama, at Oklahoma. I have A&M marked as a swing game. I have them winning at Indy, winning against Wofford at home. I've got them losing at home to Missouri and losing at Clemson. So I've got them 4-7 with one swing game being A&M. So I'm going under 5.5. It's not a huge opinion. Obviously, if Lenore Sellers is, and look, he barely played last year, but he only threw 4 passes, but all 4 complete, 2 of them touchdowns. And he's a dual threat guy, that can run it. He only ran it 5 times, but for 51 yards and 1 touchdown, 10.2 yards per carry average. So, that's not a super small sample size. But they need Rocket Sanders to return to his 2022 form that they got from Arkansas. He was banged up last year, but they've got their top 4 tacklers back and 6 of their 7 top tacklers back. So we'll see, but I like it under a little bit.
I'm really fascinated on this next one because I feel like this is a hard one to figure. The Iowa State win total, if you look at them with their schedule and the teams that they do get from the Big 12 and the teams that they avoid, with Iowa State coming in with a 7.5 win total, obviously they got Iowa in the non-conference. They do get teams like Utah. They get, if you believe West Virginia's going to have a big jump, but also Kansas in there, Kansas State in there. But even though they avoid Arizona State, you still do get Baylor. You still get a down Houston and Cincinnati team. So I feel like there's probably a lot of 50-50s here. B, where are you at with the Cyclones?
Are you guys looking at the win total right now? But for some reason, I don't have it in my magazine, and I thought I had all my Power 4.
I got Iowa State right now at 7.5.
Okay. So they got a lot of swing games to me.
Right.
First off, personnel-wise, 10 starters back on offense, 9 on defense, only lost 15 lettermen. I'm not going to call Matt Campbell Dabo, but he doesn't use the portal a whole lot. They get the number 83 class transfer specific and only the number 71 class recruiting overall. But like I said, they didn't lose a lot.
Mm-hmm.
They only got 7 transfers, only 2 from Power 4 conferences. But look, I thought they overachieved. Campbell, when they don't have expectations is when he does his best job. I feel like there are expectations this year. I mean, I marked them 4-3 with 5 swing games. So I've got the swing games being at West Virginia, UCF at home, at Kansas when Kansas is off a bye, and K-State at home. So, I mean, they could win or lose all those. I've got them losing at Iowa, but, I mean, that's winnable. But the Hawkeyes have kind of owned that rivalry, winning 7 of the last 8. Got them beating North Dakota, Arkansas State, Baylor, Texas Tech at home. But, I mean, that's losable. But they've got a rest advantage there. Cincinnati at home, I got them winning. The 3 L's are at Utah, like I said, at Iowa. And the other L, oh, my gosh, am I going blind here? Where's the other L? I don't see another L. Anyway, yeah, I don't see another L there. So maybe I've got them 5-2 with 5 swing games. So my mistake there. But
do you have Utah K-State in Iowa? Was that the 3?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Utah K-State in Iowa for the 3 losses. Utah
K-State. Oh, I thought I had swing game marked for K-State.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Sorry. Okay. I thought you said Kansas.
No, that's fine. That's fine. It's just too many swing games for me to get involved, so it's a pass for me.
Hey, so I know somebody you're high on, and this is, man, people are not doing their homework. And I'm talking about Iowa, because Iowa has not lost less than 8 games in a decade. The schedule, outside of the road trip to Columbus, they don't have Michigan, they don't have Penn State, they don't have Oregon, they don't have USC. They are going to have a really, really good defense again. They're going to be definitely better at quarterback, whether it's McNamara or Sullivan. Iowa State, Wisconsin, Nebraska are behind Ohio State, the next toughest opponents, and all of them are at home. They set their win total at 7.5. I laughed at this. I think we're on the same page here.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, all their games are winnable except for at Ohio State, and they've got rest advantage at Ohio State. Not that I'm implying they'll win. I agree on everything you said about the offense. With McNamara healthy, with a new OC, they can only be better. And the defense, first off, it's always salty, but they've got 8 starters back from a unit that gave up an average of only 14.8 points per game. Phil Steele's national unit rankings have them number 1 at linebacker, number 13 on the D-line, number 5 in the secondary, number 10 special teams. And, offensively, he's got them ranked in the, 40s in most categories, except wide receiver. They're not ranked there nationally. But, they're going to play good defense, play good special teams. Like you noted about the schedule, it really works. I mean, there's the potential to go 11-1. I mean, I don't think they will, but 9-3 is not asking a lot, I don't think. And even so FanDuel has them heavily juiced at last look, minus 162, the over on 7.5. Circa's got it at 8 flat. I would almost rather play it at 8 flat and not have to give up any juice if McNamara gets hurt or they just, lose a bunch of close games, which I don't see happening. Like you said, they always win 8. I mean, and no, you got to win 8 in the regular season. If we dismiss the COVID year, which they went 6-2 and probably went over their win total, I don't know what it was. If we dismiss that year, they've won at least 8 in the regular season, which, they had a couple, like you said, they've won 8 for a decade, but there was a year or two where they were at 7 and got the 8th in a bowl game. But 6 of the last 8 years, dismissing the COVID year, they've won at least 8 in the regular season. And that makes me, gotta go over for me.
I sent you one. I know we already did, so I'm not gonna bug you about Notre Dame, but I do want to look at Clemson here real quickly too. Clemson as of now is what is the number 9.5, I believe, to be the case for Clemson. So I know a lot of people are high on Miami. If you look at the ACC, Clemson right there, and everybody would say that is probably those two when it comes to that conference. First of all, are you buying into Clemson? Is this an over hit for Dabo Swinney this year?
So as we discussed, I love Georgia to pound them in week 1, but yeah, after that, I mean, they can win every game. Now, I think they'll have a very tough time at Virginia Tech and at FSU. They've got rest advantage for NC State at home, but I do think NC State's going to be dangerous with Grayson Allen. But yeah, they're going to be right there at probably 9-3 or 10-2. But again, they're going to get hammered against Georgia, and I can't take over 9.5 when I see those 2 road games at Tech and at FSU that are certainly going to be very difficult. And I've got 1L for sure against Georgia. But yeah, everywhere else, I mean, NC State won't be easy, but you get them at home. Louisville won't be easy, but you get them at home, and you've got a rest advantage coming off the bye week. At Pitt should be an easy W. But I can't go over 9.5 with those 2 road games I mentioned.
Doesn't it feel like, and I mean, this might be a hot take, but it almost feels like Clemson needs to be scratching or be in the playoff this year. They haven't been in the playoff since 2020. And if they don't make the playoff this year, that's almost like an entire class that's gone through Clemson that hasn't been in the playoff. You agree or disagree?
Oh, no, I agree. And I'll even maybe go a step further. And I think I've said this with you guys. I mean, I think the national narrative coming, out of week 1 to week 2 is what a knucklehead Dabo is for being so stubborn, if not downright stupid, for not using the transfer portal. He's got so much job security. He just wants to be different and for whatever reason, just wants to be hard-headed. So that's fine. Go right ahead. I don't mind Clemson not being a perennial top 5 team anymore. That works for me. So do your thing, Dabo.
Win total, we'll get you out on this. Win total is high. We're talking about Notre Dame. They should be good. If they keep Riley Leonard healthy. They did lose their left tackle for the year earlier in the week due to an injury. Pretty robust schedule. Where do we sit with Notre Dame in that high win total of 10.5?
Yeah, so I was listening to a podcast with my guy Tim Murray at Beeston with the Athletics Notre Dame beat writer, who I'm blanking on the name right now, but he said that the loss of offensive tackle Charles, gosh, I thought I had a pronunciation down listening to the pod. Chikega.
Yeah.
The offensive tackle is out for the season now. And he said that the Athletics beat writer said if he had a list of 5 guys on the team he couldn't afford, that guy probably, couldn't afford losing. That guy would probably be number 3. So it's a huge loss at offensive tackle, but the schedule really works. I mean, they get FSU at home when they've got rest advantage off an open date. At USC, you would think that would be a tough one, but I mean, I think they're better than USC. At A&M is going to be a tricky one, obviously. And with that win total at 10.5, if you're on the over, you don't want to lose that one, because then you're kind of up against it the rest of the way with only one more mulligan, or no more mulligans. I'm sorry, 0 more mulligans. So I slightly lean to the under, but FanDuel 10.5 minus 170 to the juice on under. I'm not going to risk that kind of juice.
Great stuff. B, we're a step closer, a couple of weeks away. Preseason football tonight. Enjoy the weekend. We'll talk next week as we get closer to kickoff around here.
Thanks, fellas. Y'all have a great weekend.
That's Brian Edwards. That was a pretty robust conversation there. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed the show. Brazil won, set 2?
Yep, they sure did.
One apiece, U.S. and Brazil women's volleyball in the semis. U.S. men basketball play later this afternoon. USA. We will discuss that, and we'll wrap up the week tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed Tim Kirchin, Steve Sipple, and Brian Edwards. Hope you enjoyed Jimmy and myself. If you're a Snoop Dogg fan, you hate Nick. Your car has been spray painted.
Yes, it has.
That's okay. It actually looks better. It's got a wrap on it.
Makes you think of what it was sprayed on Clark Griswold's
Spark them up.
We'll see you in 20 hours. Crossover coming up next.